9 to noon is live on your radio on 97.3 The Game in Madison, across the state on our Game network of stations, also on YouTube, X, the iHeartRadio app. I'm Billy Schmid. Armin Sarian's victorious return to the iHeart Megaplex, along with John on the NicoletLaw.com talking text line with you, 414-799-1973. That might have been the most in-sync coon that we have had.
We did that pretty good,
That was
Billy.
pretty damn good on a football Friday.
We're getting it.
That's what I'm talking about.
I mean, it's like, we're getting it figured out here after a while.
John Kuhn, almost like we're in mid-season form here on a Week 6 football Friday. That's what I'm talking about.
Doesn't it feel like it? I mean, we started the season much like, football teams around the NFL do, a little bit sluggish. Needed to find our rhythm, our roles, what each one of us is going to bring to the work week. And, Armin took a day off yesterday. Yeah. He had a little bit of a rest day, and now look at him. He's flying around. He's got fresh. We used to say he's fresh. He's got fresh legs. Look at him.
He came off one of those VR days, right? Come off a veteran rest day, and you immediately feel a whole lot better.
Yeah, veteran rest, daddy duty day, one of those days.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. And it was a good one to have. It's going to be an even better one here today across the state of Wisconsin. Nice and hot. Get your
what's up? What's up with that? It feels like summertime out there.
It's homecoming time, man. You got to go out and enjoy. And more importantly, there's got to be one last weekend for you to go and do everything outside that you're supposed to do, right? And this might be that weekend. Badgers early, 11 a.m. kick tomorrow. We'll talk to Matt LePay coming up in about 15 minutes from right now about that one as he jumps on a bird a little bit later with our guy Mike Heller. Tim Allen in for Mike Heller today as they head to Piscataway for the Badgers and Rutgers. And then a noon boom, Packers and Cardinals, Lambeau on Sunday. And there's we talked about it a little bit yesterday in the crossover, John, with Heller. And I think both of these games, for different reasons, are very much season momentum definers, right? Like for the Badgers, if they win this game against Rutgers, they could very well roll in, maybe beat somebody they're not supposed to, and getting to 6 wins, continuing the bowl streak, feels very much like a very good possibility. For the Green Bay Packers, you go in and take care of business against the Arizona Cardinals, and all of a sudden you've won 2 straight games against NFC West opponents. Your starting quarterback is back healthy for 3 straight weeks. And if you are going to be a team that not only goes to the playoffs, maybe makes a little bit of noise in the playoffs, John, these feel like games as a 5-point favorite at home that you should win. And also, if they don't, it defines maybe that this is going to be a little bit more of a full workload to get to the postseason instead of just worrying about what happens in January.
Yeah, I thought last week against the Rams, considering not having Jair, not having Christian Watson, not having
Romeo Dobbs,
Devontae Wyatt, not having Rome, to go out there and get that win in a crowded NFC right now. When you talk about the number of teams bidding, and this will all even itself out, but there's a clump of teams right now that have got some wins and got some losses, and they're 2-3 or 3-2, and to have that win last week against the Rams team that, if you did lose, you'd be 2-3. The Rams would be 2-3. Cardinals are 2-3. And it would just, even though it's early in the season, it's a
lot of clutter.
That's a lot of clutter. And you're at the back of a cluttered, call it mile run, right? You're at the back of the pack trying to make this long run. And you got a lot of people you got to pass on the way through. And this week, it's no different. I mean, this is literally the exact same. A team that you are probably better than. They do have a couple dynamic players that can mess some things up for you, but you are playing at home. And once again, a team that showed they can go into somebody else's house like they did just a week ago in San Francisco.
Oh, yeah.
Take care of business there. Even down double digits in the fourth quarter, able to come back and grind the way that they did. So you have basically the same situation you had last week, maybe a couple guys back that you didn't have last week, and you're at home. You should win this. You should take care of business. And if you don't, man, that could be, like you said, Billy, that could really define what kind of season it's going to be. It could be a rough, tumbly, bumpy one. You take care of business here, and it's, okay, beat the teams you're supposed to beat.
Yep.
Win your home games. Find yourself in the playoffs.
And it really does, I think, add to how people will feel clarity-wise, at least, Armin, and right, wrong, or indifferent for the Packers coming up this weekend, you're coming in against a team in Arizona that I think has only pressured the quarterback like a quarter of the dropbacks, right? That they're not getting a whole lot of pressure on the quarterback. They just lost maybe their best performing offensive lineman in Will Hernandez this weekend. They're dinged up on the offensive line. They're young at the skill position players. This should be a game that you end up winning. If then you go into next week again, and we can look ahead, team can't. These are 2 home games that you come out of it 2-0, very much can feel like not only we get ourselves back into this NFC North deal, absolutely looking like a playoff team. And then everything else lets itself fall into the next 2 months.
Yeah, it'd be nice if it worked out that way, what we think it should, and we got all fat and happy on these games. But you guys know this is a week-to-week league, right? I mean, we don't know what to expect. Even though we think we know what to expect going in each week, we thought the Rams couldn't stop the run. And for a while, the Packers had trouble running. We thought we were going to be able to get pressure. Rams are getting pressure on us. So I like to believe what you're saying is true, and I do believe it is. I think the Packers are better and should win at home, but I also believe it's like 60-40. You know, I don't believe it's some large, blowout percentage where you're going to walk in and easily walk over a team, right? So you have to play well. You have to play mistake-free football. We know Arizona's a better team than I think. There's people that still think that Arizona's like the Arizona of the past or like last year. Like, this is a good Arizona team. Kyler's playing all right. They got talent. I mean, yeah, they beat the Niners. They can win these games. So you have to be vigilant. You have to walk in vigilant, ready to play, ready to win, and play mistake-free football. And that's what the Packers have to do.
I think as you look around, and Norman, you said it's a week to week. It's a day to day.
Day to day.
Yeah, we found that out last week for sure.
It's day to day. I mean, when you talk about the Packers going down to Tennessee, had one of their worst weeks of practice. From those who are at the practices, said not our best week of practice. And then they go and they play a marvelous game against the Titans, get themselves a victory, 8 sacks on defense, some explosive plays on offense, a really creative run game. And then they have one of their best weeks of practice and lose at home to the Minnesota Vikings. That's how it can work. It can be a day-to-day, and veteran, experienced, well-coached teams find themselves in the droves of a season being the victors, being able to, if you have one of those stumbles like they did in Minnesota. I mean, I take a lot out of that game against Minnesota. They came out, they were flat.
Yep.
They had very little energy. They were getting rolled at home. They made the corrections and they slowly plotted their way back into it. I give them a lot of credit, a lot of maturity that takes, a lot of patience as a coaching staff, right? To make the corrections and to stick with it and to battle back in that. And even last week with the Rams, I mean, you felt like they were in control in the first half, and then the interception, the pick six, and then that drive that started the second half for the Rams, you could feel the game starting to slip into the Rams' favor before a fumble got caused and momentum completely flipped and the Packers never looked back. That takes some moxie, and well-coached, disciplined teams are the ones that find themselves winning those close games because the other team gets paid too, and you're rarely going to be perfect. So you get 1 or 2 or 3 games a year where you play a complete game, and the Packers haven't had one of those yet, but they're still 3-2, which says a lot about how they are operating.
Both of these teams are really good at running the football. Neither of the two teams are remarkable at stopping it. Packers have been much better than the Cardinals, who come in, I think, like 28th or 27th in the league in yards per game allowed. They also come in 5th in yards per game rushing.
Right.
On offense, right? So like this could be another one of those very, very quick games, John. It also feels like a game in which the Packers are going to, as you asked for on Monday, going to need to be as dedicated as possible onto the ground, because James Conner on that side will stay dedicated. They'll put the ball in Six's chest a number of different times. See how many times the Packers also answer with Josh Jacobs and Emmanuel Wilson, because I assume this game will end up won on the ground.
I think this game's going to come down to the Packers defense. Do they continue to be opportunistic? Do they continue to take the football away? Right. The Cardinals, they only have 5 turnovers this year, which is pretty good. They got 2 interceptions, I think, 3 fumbles lost. They're a solid team at protecting the football.
They protected it. Yeah.
And the Packers defense this year, when they haven't taken the ball away, has been driven upon. They haven't had a lot of 3-and-outs this year.
Good point.
There's something about being able to turn the ball over but there's also something about being able to deny an offense when you don't turn it over. I think it's what happens in this game. If the Packers can force turnovers, if they can continue to be opportunistic, that is when the Packers run away with the ball game. But if they don't cause these turnovers, because Arizona does protect the football, and they've done it so far this year pretty well, if they protect, this will be a close game in the fourth quarter, and people will start getting unnerved by that.
Yeah, there will be, and just like there was last week. I mean, the Rams could have won that game. I mean, the game's going to hinge on small moments a lot of weeks, and that's what it did last week. You know, at some point, the Packers are going to have to do a better job at stopping the ball, at stopping teams from moving the ball and them driving the ball. The Rams had 380 yards last week. It's great to have takeaways. It's a game changer. It's great to take the ball away. It's great to not turn the ball over. The turnover margin is huge. But I always said it's not something I don't think you can really count on. You can't make your living doing that, right? I mean, you can't think it's a variable stat. You can't think to yourself, we're going to be okay if we let teams move the ball on us because we're going to eventually get a turnover. It's a hard way to live. I mean, if the Packers keep getting those, great. You know, Xavier McKinney's been incredible this year. He's been an X factor. He's probably responsible himself for a few wins. But you have to at some point say, we got to stop the run better today. We have to get off the field on third down. And convert better. I mean, the Packers were 1 for 8 on third down last week, and that one was a Jordan Love scramble. So there's things the Packers, and we talked about it already all week. We talked about it Sunday. Things the Packers have to do better, and it's good to learn in wins. But I think it's going to be important to see, like, the run defense this week. You talk about James Conner. Can the Packers, stop the run a little bit better this week? Hopefully they can.
Two top 10 rushers in the NFL coming in here, both averaging over 4.5 yards a tote, John. So that's some serious moving on the ground to see if both of them lean in on that. I also think it's going to be fascinating to see how much Arizona tries to force the ball over to Marvin Harrison Jr. He had the one massive game where he goes off for $140 or so, 2 tugs. About 130 yards in 3 games since. That's nothing to sneeze at for a rookie in your first few games in the NFL. But, John, if Jair Alexander's out there, much different story than if Marvin Harrison's running up against Carrington Valentine, maybe Keyshawn Nixon on the outside, and potentially a little bit Eric Stokes.
Yeah, you never quite know when you talk about stats. How did these stats come to be the way that they are, right? Did they find themselves in a spot where they were down and they needed to pass? Is that what changed, the way that James Conner got the football in a game? So you never really know when a receiver has the, stats, the explosion in a game. Was it 1 or 2 big plays, or is he, a clinical technician at being able to run routes? I think Marvin Harrison Jr. being a rookie, there's a lot of unknown there. So, yeah, we're going to want Jair to be back. We're going to want a guy in there that's a top-level cornerback ready to face a guy that has top-level talent that you don't have a whole lot of film on, because, quite frankly, when you go against rookies, it's a double-edged sword. They're very unpredictable. You don't know what you're going to get out of them, but they are young themselves and don't have a lot of experience. So what are you getting there with the guy in Marvin Harrison Jr. on the outside? You don't really know.
Well, let's make Maserati Marv Mitsubishi Marv. Let's do that. I mean, can we do that?
Oh, okay.
Let's make
him
Mazda. No disrespect to Mitsubishi and Mazda, some great cars.
Yeah, no
I know.
doubt.
But let's
no Monte Carlo this weekend. Make it even worse.
He got Maserati Marv. I mean, he's really good. Let's make it.
What about minivan Marv?
Minivan Marv would be those are efficient.
Hey, at the end of the day,
those are efficient.
It doesn't matter what he does. Kyler Murray's got to get him the ball.
Yeah, absolutely, John.
That's it at the end of the day.
Oh, yeah, and if we can get pressure on Kyler, it'd be great. But, Kyler has his ability. I got to give Kyler Murray a little bit of credit. He had fallen off the radar a little bit. People were starting to make fun of him a little bit.
Oh, but, yeah, big time dogging him.
The whole video game thing, and it seemed like he was
His numbers are good this year. Make no mistake about it. Make no mistake about it. His numbers are good this year in what he has been able to do at the quarterback spot.
He has turned it around. So, a formidable opponent for sure. Packers have to be at their best. And hopefully, boy, it would be great, because you're right, John. If the Packers could go 4-2, with all the things they've dealt with already this year, talking about injuries to the most important position, the Dobbs situation, the injuries they've had, inconsistent play. You'd love to be 4-2 after 6 weeks? I know I would. So hopefully the Packers can find a way to get it done, because in the end, this is going to be such a jumbled up wild card situation. I mean, the goal is the North, but if you're thinking about wild card situations, the NFC wild card is going to be a bloodbath. We always know that. You have to get every win you can in this league. That's just the way it is. And unlike some other sports, in the NFL, regular season wins matter. So it's going to be important to get those wins.
Oh, jeez. We don't
I'm
have
just saying.
Come on.
I'm just
come
saying,
on.
Every game's a playoff week in this league. You know,
you got two of your higher seed big time teams to win yesterday. So I know you were smiling, all happy, getting all fat and happy on your day off, enjoying your Yankees. Go off and beat the small market Royals.
Not my Yankees.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Congratulations. John, I don't even know how we're going to stand this guy when Schneidman joins us in 45 minutes.
Just
they're
making
talking
a
about all
point.
the Yankee love.
Well, and you had the whole day off yesterday, and that's what you came back with the whole day.
No, I'm just saying. Just making the point of the situation. You know, I listened a little bit of the show yesterday. What are you talking about?
I don't know why. I
like the great West Coast Hartford Whalers.
The Hartford Whalers. Come on now.
That was great. No, I listened to the show. Is that all I'll be honest with you guys.
That's all you were doing was listening to the show?
My internet went out for a while. Actually, it was kind of a bummer. My internet went out, and I had a problem with that. So I had to miss some of the stuff that was going on yesterday.
Well, likely that you'd be able to have more father-daughter time.
I was happy about that.
A radio? You don't have a radio you can turn on?
No, I had my phone. I had the app, and that's why I turned on.
Armin grabs the old transistor radio right away.
You have a radio.
You know, you think a radio guy would have an
probably
old school
should.
radio.
Yeah, probably should.
You know, respect the medium. You know, have an old school like radio.
Curious.
I don't think I have an actual car radio. Doesn't come. I'm not going to sit in the car, you know, and just listen to the radio.
I had one. That was a really, really nice one. Left it out in the rain for a good 2 days, John. No longer a very good radio for me. So I'm in the process of buying a new radio that I can go and just listen to some, good calls from. Yeah. Other than that, right now it's all app, baby. And the iHeartRadio app's the best radio to have. It is an app,
and it's kind of spoiled us. But I should have a radio, John, in case of natural disaster. You know what I mean? What if my phone runs out of battery? I should have a radio.
Every one of those apocalyptic movies, it always has somebody with a radio somehow hooked up to, a walkie-talkie or something, checking, and then finally he hears somebody on that radio.
Finally getting a little something.
When I was a kid, and that's what made this medium radio, this media so amazing to me. I adored radio so much because I knew the importance.
Because of Independence Day.
And now you don't even own one.
I know, right? I know the importance of radio.
Fitting how it goes full circle like that.
When I was a kid, my mom.
You're killing us, Armin. You're killing us.
Killing our industry. Thanks, Armin. Appreciate it.
This is our tornado.
Trying to put us and truck drivers out of jobs today because we got something for that.
I didn't do it.
We got something for that. Oh man!
Don't blame me on that one. Blame
all right, Elon.
Else.
We got to talk about this at some point. Because this is getting. I've watched way too many. You want to talk about apocalyptic movies here, John? I've watched way too many Smart House movies on Disney Channel when I was a kid to be seeing these robots walk around and not be a little concerned.
Hey,
I'm not for this. There are some things that I acknowledge Elon Musk has done and done very well. This I am not for.
Yeah, this one I'm not for. There's a guy.
I could have used Starlink last night, though. Let me tell you. With the internet,
I agree. Starlink,
yeah, sure.
I have Starlink's a plus. Starlink's very nice.
I didn't have that last night. I had nothing last night. How was the
robots and cybercabs?
I had your family arm. That's what you had.
Well, I love that. I didn't have anything for the sports. I tweeted out, can someone describe the games to me? Because I can't watch them tonight.
Well, then you had a nice dad joke for me on Twitter, too.
That was great. We had a great day.
It was a good day yesterday. It's only going to get better here today. Matt Schneidman is going to stop by, talk some Packers in about 40 minutes from right now. On the other side, Matt LePay, the Hall of Fame voice of the Wisconsin Badgers, joins us before he jumps on a jet to not the worst place in the Big Ten. I've been corrected on this by multiple people, John. Piscataway, New Jersey, not the worst place in the Big Ten. Matt will tell us what is the worst place in the Big Ten, though, on the other side, because that's really the content we need to know before the Badgers go out, hopefully beat the Scarlet Knights as a 2.5-point dog. Matt LePay is with us next. It's 9 to noon on the game. Armin bumping back with the boss. I like that. Is that an ode to like every sports writer of all time?
Well, yes, but also New Jersey, Rutgers.
Oh, okay.
New
Look
Jersey.
at you.
Trying to get creative
This
here.
man's got some flavor. This man's got some style. The man with the most style is the man in the beautiful Under Armour quarter zip or full zip. I can't fully tell right now. Joining us here on the video streaming. You can be seeing him on YouTube and X as well. He's the Hall of Fame voice of the Wisconsin Badgers, Matt LePay. Hey, Matt, that full zip, quarter zip, what are we looking at here?
It's full zip. Thanks for
It's
asking.
Good move. That's a good move because you got to be able to go up and down, potentially lose the jacket on a day where it's 45 degrees in the morning
and then
damn near 80 when
80.
you guys are going to be getting on that bird flying to Piscataway, New Jersey. What are we looking like
it's
here?
wild, John. It's wild.
It's October in Wisconsin. It's unreal.
Sorry, John's laughing at me because I keep talking about how wild of a weather day this is.
The
Matt.
weather is kind of drunk.
It
today.
is, Matt. It is.
Y'all good? Y'all good there? You calm, Armin?
Oh,
No,
I'm
he's
good.
not.
It's just that you wake up and it's 50 and it's going to be 80 degrees. Isn't that crazy? I just think I love
It's
Wisconsin.
wild. It's wild. It's the best place to be living. Now, Mike Heller calmed me down when I was making fun of Piscataway, New Jersey yesterday. Saying, not the worst place in the Big Ten, man. Now, I'm not going to speculate. I would assume maybe the wife of somebody on the screen here, her alma mater would be the worst in the Big Ten. But Piscataway doesn't stink on the trip out to Rutgers coming up this weekend.
No, it's not bad at all. There have been years that we stayed, like basketball, we stayed right in downtown New Brunswick, which was pretty cool.
Ooh,
No, there are parts
okay.
of Jersey that are really leafy, great neighborhoods, all that stuff. Rutgers is a nice campus. So, no, it's not. I can't even knock Purdue anymore, Billy, because, you can't spell media without an M and an E. And
Absolutely.
their stadium, their booth is the best.
Really?
Oh, you gotta love that.
Stadium. Mackey Arena is great for atmosphere. It's not like I'm hanging out at campus bars, at Purdue anymore.
The one there?
Kids.
I
So
appreciate
I
any
can't
more.
I can't even rag on Purdue. I used to, but not anymore.
I'm surprised, Ross Aid, because it's sort of an older stadium, isn't it? Now, Mackey Arena, we know, is a great environment. People talk about it. They've got that tin roof the engineers made to
Mhm.
make it super loud. But Ross Aid is not one that people talk about a lot as great environments. I don't know what the situation is at Rutgers either. I've been, but I'm surprised. That's interesting, Matt. Yeah.
Yeah. Again, it goes back to what's important to the broadcasters, and
Absolutely. Yes.
they renovated that place, Ross Aid Stadium, several years ago.
Okay.
And so it went from being pretty blasé to, it's actually a nice stadium. Now, the team, Wisconsin hasn't lost to Purdue in more than 20 years. So maybe that has something in that goes
Makes it better.
into rating facilities. But no, it's not bad. Rutgers, okay, the stadium. The thing there is the program is better. So their last home game a couple weeks ago, they played Washington. It was a night game, big crowd. Greg Schiano is just the perfect fit for that school. This is his second go-round there. Had a good run in the early 2000s, and then not so good with Tampa Bay. But he's back and he was actually a coordinator at Ohio State for a few years as well. But this fit for him and Rutgers, that's been a really, really good match for that program.
Yeah, it really has. And, I remember that run with Ray Rice and, some of the other players that he had at that time. They made it all the way into the top 10. And from the East Coast, watching that was a miraculous achievement that he was able to do that with Rutgers back then. And they are a team in the Big Ten right now making some noise early on in the season. Last week, Wisconsin getting that victory. And not just the victory, Matt. I say style points. Sometimes there are games where it matters for style points. I feel like that was very needed for this Wisconsin team at that point in the season.
Yeah, it's been a minute since they've won a game that convincingly. We talked about that before the first game or two of the season, how you wanted to see Wisconsin win and look good doing it. Well, they won, but they were dogfights with Western Michigan and South Dakota. And just to take advantage of a Purdue team that's reeling now. A few weeks ago, Notre Dame put 66 on them. They did give Nebraska a pretty good game a couple of weeks ago, so that was a little bit of a cautionary tale. But to see Wisconsin last week be able to run the ball effectively, and then Braden Locke got into a really good rhythm throwing it. They got the ball to their playmakers, and then they got something done after the catch. If it was Tretch Kekahuna or Vinny Anthony, it was a feel-good game for those guys. Now, the trick is to do it again, to play really well again against a Rutgers team that's probably quite a bit better. Well, not probably. It is quite a bit better
Mm-hmm.
than Purdue.
Matt, when you mentioned Vinny Anthony and Tretch, their run after the catch, both were spectacular. And to be able to see the quick strike ability of both of them, but Vinny in particular, they've been trying to find ways to get this cat the football, returning punts, returning kicks. Now they're almost pulling him back off some of those duties because they want to ease his load. That seems to right now there's been a lot of talk about who's going to be the top wide receivers, who's coming in, who's going in. With Bryson Green and Will Pauling going out last week, maybe you saw two young guys and their two homegrown guys potentially be the ones that end up taking the mantle.
Yeah, I think in the last couple of weeks, especially with Anthony, he was a track standout in high school in Louisville, Kentucky too. I mean, he was a really good track athlete, and we haven't been able to see that translate much into football until these last couple of weeks. He had the long touchdown catch against USC, and as you said, what he did after the catch. Where he just seemed like he kicked it into another gear and blew by people in the secondary for Purdue. And Kekahuna is someone who I think a lot of folks have been waiting for him to get the ball in his hands somehow, some way. And they ran a couple of little pop pass plays for him, to get him involved. And then his touchdown run, he too is somebody who can run pretty well. And you got to see that. That's the whole concept of this air raid offense. They always talk about, you're attacking grass, just hit an open space, get the ball into a playmaker's hands, and it could be a short throw, intermediate throw. It could be throws of any kind, but then let them go to work after the catch. And they were able to do that. Like I said, they did it against a Purdue team that's just not good right now, but you want to see these guys build off of that, particularly in this stretch with Rutgers and then Northwestern next week, and then it really starts to ramp up again. But this is a good test for these guys against a Rutgers team that really does have an identity. The blue collar, it's going to grind you for 4 quarters, and let's see how Wisconsin's able to hold up against that.
You hear take on the identity of your coach, John. This is the coach that when he was in the NFL instructed the defensive linemen to bull rush the kneel down. So that is their style. They're going to play a full 60.
Yeah. Listen, I have a couple friends that got into coaching afterwards that were on his staff there at Rutgers. He didn't take it easy on his staff either.
I can imagine.
A bulldog, and his teams reflect that. That's the type of mentality they go out there with. Is that a good thing for Wisconsin to get that right now, Matt? To get a bulldog? Back in the day, I used to say, give us the bulldog, because that's what don't give us the athletes, give us the bulldog. But is that what Wisconsin still wants?
Yeah, it's a great question, because for the longest time, that was exactly what Wisconsin wanted, because that's how the Badgers viewed themselves. I think for this team, though, it's a good idea. It's a good time to play a team like this, because they're going to play, an Oregon team can, as much as people might think of those guys as the flash and dash, they can grind you. Penn State, really good defensive team. Iowa, good defensive team. Those are the kind of opponents that lie ahead on the schedule. So it's probably good, for Wisconsin, particularly on the defensive side. The Badgers have struggled against the run. It's no secret. That's what Rutgers does really well offensively, is run the ball. They've got this kid, Kyle Monangai is his name. He's 5'9", about 210. And he runs with great force. He's very violent when he goes through the line, and he will deliver a blow as well as take one. So this, I think, for Wisconsin, it's a really good measuring stick. We talk so much about offense. This is going to be a really good measuring stick defensively to see where Wisconsin is and how well it can hold up against a team that loves to run the ball.
Matt, the big picture of college football, it's kind of funny. The way the Big Ten is kind of set up in the top 25, really top end heavy with Penn State, Ohio State, Oregon.
Indiana.
Indiana's, do you know what? They're undefeated. Give them some flowers, right? I mean, Indiana is undefeated.
And
can you believe
Kurt
they're
Cignetti
6-0?
get to the damn stadium on time.
It's crazy.
Can you believe that?
Yeah, the other two, and the next 3 teams behind them are the
2, 3, and 4 in the country.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, they've this new coach has come in from James Madison. Kirk Cignetti is his name, and he came in with a lot of bravado, saying that they're going to go up there with the big boys. Now, they haven't played the big boys yet, but what's been impressive about Indiana, we just talked about this with Wisconsin, to be able to win a game convincingly. I mean, Indiana they're beating the dog out of people. when they're playing
That's
them.
the thing,
There's a crazy stat right now in the Big Ten in conference games. This league is still getting used to the coast to coast nature of it. In league games, Indiana is the only team to travel 2 time zones and win. They won out at UCLA at the Rose Bowl a few weeks ago. I think it's a 1-7 record in league games, teams that have had to travel 2+ time zones. They're not traveling well. Indiana has proven an ability to do that. So am I totally sold on them? Not yet, but hey man, 6-0, and they have looked good getting to 6-0.
That's a good reminder that we don't know what to expect yet either in this new Big Ten, John. Yeah.
Cignetti is the son of Frank Cignetti, old Indiana University of Pennsylvania coach, IUP there in the PSAC, went against him a bunch. And Kurt actually, before getting into coaching, recruited, I believe, Julio Jones and Mark Ingram and a whole bunch of guys to go down to Bama. So he knows what he's doing when it comes to scouting the talent, finding the talent, and getting them in there. Convincing them to come to Indiana, that's a whole different ball.
He's a damn showman. He is a showman. He was on the McAfee show last year. That was an entertaining segment in and of itself when he was hyping up that crowd. Like that's somebody that can end up rolling something in.
And the other thing with that program, guys, they're known for basketball, right? The tradition of Indiana basketball, Bob Knight, so on and so forth. They have poured more money into resources. That sounds like they've really built their NIL war chest, if you want to call it that. They've upgraded their facilities. I would imagine with Cignetti, that was pretty significant. He brought some guys with him from James Madison as well as they hit the portal pretty aggressively. But it's been interesting to see how they've ramped things up down there. And you're right, John. He was the recruiting guy for Saban down at Alabama and really got that thing cranked up. So this guy obviously knows what he's doing. We'll see if they can sustain it, or they play Michigan later. Washington comes in, they go to Ohio State, but for Indiana to be 6-0, that just doesn't happen. So he deserves a ton of credit.
As this season plays out, it happens in the SEC. It's going to happen in the Big Ten. We're going to beat each other up, right? It's bound to happen. But how many teams can last and make it through it? Like Billy said, 2, 3, and 4 in the country are sitting right there. Penn State, Ohio State, Oregon. How many teams can make that push for the Big Ten for the playoffs?
I think the league would love to tell you a minimum of 3, and it'll push for 4, the 3 that you just mentioned. And then we'll see who else. I mean, USC lost at Minnesota last week. USC will host Penn State. That's an interesting game that I'm sure Billy is mulling over as he makes his investments for the
Not
week.
mulling that one at all.
I've got to think. I'm thinking 3 for sure, John. It seems to me. And then where is Michigan? It's not nearly as good as last year, but the Big Ten and the SEC, they will be screaming for at least that many, if not 4 or maybe even more. Ohio State plays Oregon this week out in Eugene, and that's going to be a fun game.
Wow, that'll be good.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that. Billy knows I've had that on my mind since last week.
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to pick that game last week, but I'm finding something really fascinating about this new Big Ten. That travel to the West Coast is so stark and drastic to what players are used to in college. How much is that coming into play in your opinion? I think it's going to be huge, massive. We saw it with Wisconsin when they went out there, and then we saw it with USC the next week in Minnesota. I just think they're not used to that type of travel, the travel that a pro team would do.
Yeah, they're not. No, you're exactly right. They're not, because with Indiana being the only team to go out west, to go that distance and win a game. I mean, I know UCLA is not good, but it's still it is a new thing for this league right now. They maybe walked into it a little bit slowly but surely with trips to Maryland, trips to Rutgers, but that's 3.5, 3:45 on a team charter from Madison, Wisconsin to LA, and that's going to be. It's definitely something worth watching. The other thing, too, I think college football fans are adjusting to this 12-team playoff because, Alabama lost it at Vanderbilt last week. And Alabama fans are up in arms over stuff that matters and stuff that doesn't, including a head coach who wears a T-shirt untucked. All of a sudden, that's an issue.
You don't do that in the South. You don't do that in the South.
You don't. And they're reminding
cocktail party at all times.
Yeah, those Alabama fans who were here a few weeks ago, they were dressed to the nines. I will say that they were like, whoa, okay, that's how it works. But in a 4-team playoff, that game could have been a disaster for Alabama. But with a 12-team playoff, like, hey, you're okay. Don't keep losing, obviously. That's like this Ohio State-Oregon game. The stakes are relatively high, but the loser is still in a good spot to get into the playoffs. So the whole dynamic of that, I keep calling it NFL light, or maybe NFL very light, but that's what's going on. The regular season still carries a lot of weight, but not as much as it did with the 4-team playoff. You can have a mulligan, and likely 2 if you're good enough, and if your strength of schedule is strong enough that you could still get in that field.
Yeah, Matt, Heller and I threw the pizza bet down yesterday already. I got Ohio State by two scores. They're gonna run all over Oregon.
So you're going against the whole time zone thing.
Yeah, and I'm doing it twice because I'm also taking Penn State. It's going to be I'm going to throw the sweater
Penn State's
on
not going to do it.
all weekend.
I'm right there with you.
James Franklin is not going to let them go out there and handle business.
Find a way to lose.
This is your classic James Franklin. What are you doing, man?
The runway's too short. We got to go to Harrisburg. We got to fly out of there because otherwise we got to make a fuel stop. Give me the Trojans.
Ooh, that's going to be fun. All right. Well, we're going to be able to track all of this weekend. It's going to be a fun weekend. The Knot.com, Matt, does all the wedding stuff. Number 1 wedding day of 2024 this Saturday.
Crazy.
A lot of groomsmen going to be watching college football.
Wow. I thought college football was the second most popular sport, albeit a distant second. I get it, to the NFL. But that's some knowledge you just dropped. I had no idea.
Wedding dancing, number 2. I think wedding dancing, recreational sport, maybe number 2. College football could go number 3.
Oh, I ain't trying to bring that up, John.
What month did you get married in?
I've got married October 2nd.
Oh,
and Matt, that puts the point to this. Guys are just letting their girls walk all over before they even get married.
We don't plan the wedding.
Just picking dates during football season now.
Wow. I got married in July, guys. I mean, come on.
You gotta be
smart move. You're smart.
You got to be smarter. See, be like Matt LePay. Don't have a fall wedding.
It's the only thing I've ever won with my wife, though. She pretty much makes every decision after that. But yeah, mid-July wedding. So we kept it away from football, man.
You're always the winner because you're hers. That you're the winner right there. You be safe and don't let Heller eat all your Chick-fil-A on the way out. Okay.
Absolutely. Take care, guys. We'll see you.
The voice of the Wisconsin Badgers, Matt LePay, hanging out with us here on 9 to noon. We're way late for a break. We're back right after this. Match Diamond in 15 minutes on the game. 9 to noon on the game. 414-799-1973. This is the NicolaLaw.com talk and text line, and that is where you need to be today to not only interact with the program all day long, but to drop your score predictions for Packers and Cardinals and have your opportunity to be the contestant for You Better You Bet on a wide open Wednesday. Wrote it down today. Actually got it in the first hour.
First hour, world record.
Let's go.
Look
everybody.
at us.
I was
Remembering
fired up.
stuff.
I was fired up. I was sitting here during the break, nodding along, kind of like you sit at a locker, John, I assume, when you had your bows on right before the game, just nodding, knowing you're about to do something.
I was one of the weirdos that didn't listen. If music wasn't playing for the whole room, I wasn't listening.
Oh, so you were a real psycho, just sitting in your locker, just nodding, just rocking back and forth?
I did not want headphones on. I did not do that. That was not my jam. A lot of players jam.
Oh,
a lot
absolutely.
of players do it. It's just not something I ever got into.
You want to be aware
so
of
you could just be sitting there chilling, just rocking back and forth.
Like I said, New Orleans, we weren't allowed to have music. There was no music. It was deathly silent in there, except for Mark Ingram, who would be singing his.
That's outstanding.
We can't have music. We can't have music. But he'd have his headphones on and he'd be singing every word. So I'd know exactly what
and he's going hard too, I bet. He was going in before that game.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody was telling 22 what to do.
Beach Boys, those type of things. Yeah.
Green Bay, we would have music until we went out for pregame. And then once that pregame was done, we came back and then it was
silent.
Like the second, the return to the locker room was no more music.
Okay, I can get that. I can get that one. I always love, there's a couple of different people. There's the dudes that are looking around like they're trying to commit a heinous crime. Like they are ready to do some absolute damage. Then there's some guys that are proud, that are walking around trying to talk to other people, right? Like that was, oh, so you were the guy that was walking up just trying to, hey man, what's going on? You guys ready to go?
I was messing with people. I would take the green bands and I'd walk up and I'd do curls right in front of them and see how many times I could flex in front of them just to see if I could make them laugh.
Just to get some.
And then after I did that for a while, I swear to God, after I did that for like 2 or 3 games, then Clay would give me the green band.
Let me see that thing quick. All right, I got to get a couple of here. I like Clay does not want to get showed up out there in the bicep game.
I was not going. And then I'd start doing triceps.
Yeah,
you can get you're not getting a bigger horseshoe than this, Clay. You're not. I goofed around a lot. I probably goofed around more than I should have.
No, but that was your way to get ready.
That's
I don't think that's a problem. You're trying to get not everyone to stay loose, but just in general.
That's why you're good at this job.
Interact. We're here to interact. Yeah,
that's why I try to tell you guys all the time. This RBF that I have, it's not real. Like I'm generally one of the least bees out there.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
I got a solid RBF too rolling.
Yeah, you're trying to work the vibe into a crescendo to all crescendo for the game. I totally get it.
For the game. Got it. Okay, yeah. No doubt. Yeah, definitely. You want to build it up. You want to build it all the way up. So then when it pops,
right.
It's at the right time.
And that we're
never too early, never too late.
We're not individuals. We're here together. So let's take headphones off and interact together. We're out there as a unit. I like that. Hold the rope, everybody. It's the type of stuff.
Look at you fit a good football coach cliche in there. Hold the rope.
The type of stuff you're going to tell your team tonight for homecoming.
That's exactly what the pep talk was from Bill Belichick in that Aaron Hernandez documentary they got going on FX.
Dude, that
Every
guy
coach
that is doing
hold the rope.
That guy with that's playing Gronk.
Oh yeah,
multiple Emmy Award winner.
Did you know? Did you know that's one of Gronk's friends?
Are you serious?
Makes sense. Makes
good.
Sense.
Makes a lot of sense because he's got him down pat.
Gronk was in an interview and said, "Yeah, he took it a little over the top.
Maybe
a little over the top."
Maybe. Nikki Glazer thinks it's perfect, though.
Yes.
Thinks that he made it sound just how Gronk would be. On the other side, Spike in the football might be our guy, Matt Schneidman, after his baseball team gets a victory last night. He'll give us everything we need to know before Packers and Cardinals. People are already weighing in on their score predictions.
Take pictures. Hang on.
I got a spoiler alert. Not a lot of Cardinal winners here. A couple Cardinal covers. We'll discuss it with Matt Schneidman on the other side. Hour 2 of 9 to noon with Kuhn, Billy, and Armin is next. Statewide on the game.
Nope.
Hour 2, 9 to noon. I'm Billy Schmid alongside Armin Sarian in the iHeart Megaplex and John Kuhn with all of you on the NicolaLaw.com talk and text line. And now we welcome on our friend from The Athletic, theathletic.com, and the Matt Schneidman Show, as well as the Matt LaFleur podcast, all found on the iHeartRadio app, is Matt Schneidman, who looks to be maybe freshly trimmed. Did you get a fresh cut, a little fade going in there? Because there doesn't seem to be as much lettuce underneath that victorious New York Yankees ball cap you got there right now.
Yeah, a couple days ago. I think
Let's go.
Tuesday. Yeah.
Good luck. Okay, fresh cut.
he's gotta
Fresh cut.
he's
I'm talking about
Got to get right for the series.
playoff slice. I like that. Yes,
He's
sir.
got to come correct for the series. The Yankees, yes, let's get it out of the way. They won.
Yeah, we get it. All right. You're a Yankee fan, Armin. Okay. It's cool. Like, you like big markets. You hate small markets. You hate these teams that just scrap, fight, and claw
Once again,
to get in. That's cool. That's
once again,
fine.
It's not about the market. It's about, I want teams that win more games to win more often than not, because I'm getting tired of these 82 win teams or 86.
Also, the best news to come out of last night, this morning, is that Brian Anderson is calling the ALCS.
That is.
Mad Dog said that Brian Anderson yells too much for him. I had to turn Mad
Try
Dog.
listening to Bob Costas, with all due respect.
He was. Yeah.
that's been a
Bob
big
Costas
debate.
was tough. I
That's
mean,
been a
and
big
Armin
debate.
and I got into this throughout the week. I'm sorry. I know he's great. I know he's a legend. I don't need to hear him call a baseball game again.
And I've come around on it like that both can be true.
No thanks.
Like Bob has always been my guy, but he wasn't good this series, and he's not been good at calling these games. So,
But I also like Al Michaels, and he was on the call last night, and I was a big fan of it. He won't be on the call on Sunday when the Packers take on the Arizona Cardinals, but our guy John Kuhn will be on the sidelines for that game, Matt. And there is going to be, I assume, two teams that want to run the football. This is going to feel like the first home game against Indianapolis, I think, where both teams are really trying to keep it on the ground.
Yeah, I think the Cardinals' weakness on their defense is obviously their run defense. I think they rank like 24th and 28th in a couple of the key true media metrics. I won't bore all your listeners with those, but I don't think that's going to take the ball out of Jordan Love's hands. Like, they're not going to say, oh, we should, only throw the ball 22 times with Jordan Love because Cardinals have a bad run defense. Could Josh Jacobs get, 25 touches as opposed to however many he got last week, 16 or 19? Yeah, I think so. But I think you're still going to see the Packers throw the ball through the air. I had someone ask me yesterday, how much does the Packers receiver room being in turmoil affect this week's game plan? I don't think it's turmoil at all. I don't think one person's lack of content with however he's being used is going to affect their on-field performance at all. So yeah, I think Josh Jacobs is in for a big workload this week, but I don't think it's going to be like we saw in Indy or against Indy.
So you don't believe that there will be any lingering effects from the Romeo Doubs situation? Do you believe it's as done as it can be right now, as long as he's still not talking to anybody about it?
I don't think it'll affect them on the field, no, because these guys are professionals. And like I said last night on the Football Feast, and John knows this is not a foreign thing for an NFL locker room. This happens way more often than we think, stuff like this that could get awkward behind closed doors, but it just doesn't come to light. I mean, we only heard about Jair Alexander's suspension once he went out for the coin toss, and then Matt LaFleur came out and said, well, this was the last straw. We didn't hear publicly about any of the other stuff leading up to that. Stuff like this happens all the time. And and could it be a little bit awkward walking past each other in the hallway or in the meeting room? Maybe, but it's not going to affect anything on the field, I don't think. And if Romeo talks today, then there might be a little more to come out of it. But yeah, it's already dying down, and I think that's kind of how the Packers want it.
Tell us, will Rome talk today?
I don't know.
So
I'm not his PR person.
I didn't think he would.
But did you put in a request for him? This is what I'm trying to get at. This is a very important story.
Did we put in a John? That's an insulting question to the beat reporters. Did we put in a request for Romeo Doubs? Of course.
Okay, so explain what happens now. Like, how long can they wait on the request, the pregnant pause,
Sure,
or
that's
an indefinite pause? Do you think he talks at all, or does he risk getting fined by?
Because we had the Devondre Campbell situation last year where he didn't talk, but different situation. So what's the process again?
That's a good question, John. I think so. We expected him to talk on Wednesday because I'm no PR professional, but just thinking from the PR side of things, you want Romeo to talk. He's going to have to address it at some point.
Oh, yeah.
So you want him to talk on Wednesday from a PR perspective just to get it out of the way so they can move on. To my knowledge and my assumption, this is Romeo's decision and Romeo's decision alone, really, to prolong it. If it was Jason Waller's or Tom Fanning or Nate Lacasio's decision, they would have had him talk on Wednesday. I'm assuming. That's nothing I've been told directly, but yeah, and listen, we never want to turn players in. The way it works is and I'll just say this quickly for anybody who doesn't know, players aren't required to talk every week, but have to make themselves available on a semi-regular basis. For example, Jimmy Graham during the 2019 season, I believe it was, didn't talk for the first 8 weeks of the season, despite our requests.
Right.
So what happens then is you notify the PR staff that you're going to turn them in. Then the PR staff tries to get them to talk. If they still refuse, then the PFWA chapter president, which I believe is Rob or Tom Silverstein, then goes to Mike Signora, who works in the NFL League PR office. Then Mike Signora sends a letter to said player saying, if you don't talk, you're going to be fined $25,000. And then the player still has the option to talk. If they say, I got this letter, I'm still not going to talk, then they're fined $25,000. So it takes a lot. They're given like 3 different steps of, you got to talk now. And then if they still don't, then they're fined. Jimmy Graham took the fine and then started talking, which made no sense whatsoever.
That's a Jimmy Graham thing to do.
Devondre Campbell last year, we got to the
just
point
to prove a point, Armin.
Yeah.
Exactly. We got to the point last year with Devondre Campbell where he got the letter from the league and then decided to talk.
And then he said,
Now-
I'm not talking about anything on the internet. If you remember, that was my favorite thing about Devondre. I'm not talking about anything on the internet. Well, you put it on there, Devondre.
For example, like with Jair doesn't talk every week, but he makes himself available enough that we're not going to turn him in.
Sure.
Romeo knows he has to talk on this. So, like, if he doesn't talk today, we probably won't turn him in. It's not strictly up to me. This is just my opinion. If he doesn't talk next week, then we'll probably, say to the PR staff, hey, and by design, maybe that's his intention. It'll probably be blown over by next week. So he'll talk and he'll be like, oh, who cares anymore? So the people, it doesn't matter to me, but my readers and our listeners, they want to know what he has to say. And so far, only his teammates have spoken on it.
Could he take a fine every week and never talk? And take
it wouldn't be a fine every week. It would just be one $25,000 fine if he were to go through those couple steps and still refuse to talk.
That might be his plan. I mean,
my guess is he talks today.
Okay.
But my guess was also he would talk on Wednesday. You never know with him.
Yeah, I might take that if it's just one $25,000 fine.
Yeah,
It's done if I don't have to talk about it. But Matt, since we're on this, and it's been more of a story now because of what the NFLPA statement came out, do you think that the job is going to change potentially for you, where the hold out of reporters in the locker room, like that would invariably make your guys' job more difficult?
That's not what the proposed rule change is. It wouldn't close the locker room. It would just give guys the option to do interviews outside the locker room. So we would still be in the locker room. It would just mean the interview request itself, hey, can you talk, would take place in the locker room. And then if they want, the player can say, let's go outside. The locker room wouldn't close. We would still be in there. And then post-game, all interviews would be in the locker room. This is just a during the week thing. So the NFLPA has come out with this, and I believe the NFLPA is sending a rep to each city, sitting down with the player rep, and the Packers player rep is Zach Tom, and saying, hey, we advise you do this. My understanding is that the only reason this came about is because someone posted George Kittle's ass on Twitter. And I don't think George Kittle was even that mad about it, but it was just the NFLPA's way.
His wife might have been a little upset.
It was just the NFLPA's way to angle for closed locker rooms. I don't even know that this is something that the players overwhelmingly want. In Green Bay, certainly, we haven't heard anything about it. We haven't heard any players be like, get out of our locker room.
Sure.
Torrey Smith said y'all are looking at his meat. So just
Visanthe Shenko had it all hanging out. Okay. Yeah. It wasn't just the moon, it was the stars and the sun and everything else. Okay. So that stuff can get mixed up. I've been an advocate my entire career when I was a player rep.
Yeah, you didn't like it.
And that's I always thought, and I still think, and this is what makes me laugh. This makes so much more sense. Not in the locker room. You have a media room that every single player has to walk through. They have to walk through it. You have to walk through the media room after a game. And if the media wants you, you have to stop. That's all there is to it. It's just it's a part of the job. It's a part of the job. You have to do it. The fact that the NFL can't put a standard on it, the fact that they can't put a standard for media on how to act in the locker room, the fact that they can't put a standard on players on how they act. I mean, this I'm going to be honest. This is quite ridiculous that Rome won't talk to you guys. This is a very important, newsworthy thing that happened last week with a football team. Talk.
You got to talk about it.
Get it over with. And he should have that standard. That standard should be somebody from the NFL. Like you said, the fact that it has to go to the PR, then for a letter, and then, a fine. It shouldn't be that. It should be a simple phone call from the league this week. Hey, they wanted you to talk. You got to talk. This is a story. You got to talk. Get it over with.
You're preaching to the choir here.
Yeah, it's a fascinating story that's not going to go away.
But I do think
cat,
if you make it easier for the players, they'll be more receptive. And what I mean by that is if you make it easier for the players, if you make a designated space for the media that every player has to walk through just so that they're present, so that the media can grab them if they'd like or not. That would just be so much more welcoming than being at your locker, trying to shower in your private space. I mean, the locker room's supposed to be a sacred place, but we'll let anybody with a plastic credential go walking through there. It's wild. Yeah, it's unbelievable.
You're putting deodorant on. You're half naked. I could see it being a very awkward. I've never been on that side of it, the player side of it, But I remember being an intern, and it was like we were at availability in the locker room for the Bucks, and Michael Redd's I felt weird. I'm like, Michael Redd's trying to get dressed. Should I wait for him to put his pants on? Should I let the man do that before I ask him about his shooting performance? I can get that. I can understand that. Are you worried at all, Matt, about, or guys in general, all you guys? I don't think that it's going to be an issue in terms of, like you said, the receiver room not in turmoil, but will the coaching staff, will there be this pressure to go out of their way to feed Romeo early to make him happy? You don't think at all? You don't think in the back of anyone's mind, Jordan Love's mind, he's going to look for Romeo first in the progression? I worry about things like that.
Maybe human nature makes you think that way, but Matt LaFleur was very clear when he spoke to us on Monday and sat down with me for our podcast. He said he told Romeo in their meeting on Monday that his job as the head coach is to do what's best for the team. That's a clear message. Maybe Jordan Love says, you know what? Here, take one. I'll throw you this in the end zone. But guess what? He might throw it to Romeo in the end zone anyway because Romeo's their best red zone threat. So is that something in the back of their minds? Absolutely. But does it actually materialize on the field? I would think not.
Well, I just know guys have done it. Like Brady, I know it's different, but like Brady would get Gronk his catch for the bonus, or I remember when Antonio came back after he was in Philly.
Though. Yeah, they are.
Brett threw to Antonio.
Massively different. Massively different.
I get it, it's different, but I don't know if that seeps in the human nature of, I'm going to get Rome going early here, make him feel good. We're all going to feel better about ourselves and start this day right.
No, it comes down to the coach. No, it comes down to the coach and the play calling and the position the players be put in.
But it's not Jordan Love's responsibility or Matt LaFleur's responsibility to make Romeo happy. It's on Romeo Doubs to be a team player and realize that the offense doesn't revolve around him.
Yes, you're right. But I think what Armin's asking is this, and you are absolutely right about Romeo Doubs' job is to be a professional and do what he's asked to do. I think what Armin's saying is, human nature would say Matt LaFleur sitting there saying,
sure, I agree. Let's
get him a ball or two, and starts making some calls. Even if it's just a little bit based on that, that's kind of weird. And it's a new dynamic we're dealing with this wide receiver room.
Mm-hmm.
But he wouldn't also be the first quarterback or play caller to force one of his guys the ball, right? To try to get him into the game.
No, he wouldn't, Billy. You're absolutely right. Because play callers and game planners design these plays specifically for that. What I'm saying if it's different than normal.
Like a football reason.
Because obviously the way he was game planning and the way he was calling plays was not up to the standard that Romeo thought he should be getting used.
Well, and Heller asked me yesterday, do you think Romeo leads the team in targets? Because I do. And I was like, I don't. I think they play the game like they want to. And I think Jaden Reed touches the ball more than any of them do. And then maybe Tucker Kraft is right there in number 2 in targets because of his increased role. No Luke Musgrave. Like, I don't think that's the force. Matt, I also think that it's interesting, and John talked about it yesterday when we were going back and forth of where do you start ranking these guys, where it could have been number 1 for Romeo Doubs come into the season. I personally, just by the amount of volume you're seeing for Dontavian Wicks, and I still think Christian Watson poses a bigger threat and is a different guy, where it could be number 1 or it could be number 4 in terms of pecking order very quickly you could see how in a player's mind, damn, I thought I was now close to number 1. Now I'm closer to number 4 than I am number 1 if Christian Watson comes back sooner than expected. So there's only a couple of throws to go around, especially if we think they're going to lean in on the ground game in a game where there could be up to 40-mile-an-hour wind gusts.
Yeah, but even if you're number 4 right now, you could be number 1 next week. And that's why what Romeo has done is surprising, because we've pulled the quote from the first week of training camp when he said it would be selfish of me to have personal goals because that would mean I'm not thinking about the team. That's that's almost the exact wording of what he says. I don't have the quote right in front of me, but it's not like you're sharpied in to the number 4 spot. Are you the number 4 this week? Maybe, but you could be the number 1 next week. That's the whole point of this receiver room. So it'll be fascinating to see how they utilize him on Sunday. And I have to start him on my fantasy team because Malik Neighbors has a concussion still.
Yeah, that's tough. Malik Neighbors' situation is getting more and more interesting because these guys are being held out longer and longer by the independent concussion protocol, it appears.
He was at a Travis Scott concert, though.
Well, yeah, have some fun.
You can go to a concert.
You gotta relax to get those neurons and everything to chill out, to get unbruised up there. Is that what's going on? His doctor is not clearing him. Is that what's going on?
No, he didn't advance in the protocol, John. So I was just believing that's where he had not been able to clear.
Speaking on injuries, really weird. Luke Musgrave limited Wednesday. Yesterday did not practice. Now I'm reading he could be out for a month and put on IR, Matt.
Yeah, he's going to be put on IR. So Matt LaFleur said yesterday that the team didn't know how serious Musgrave's ankle injury was. He injured it against the Vikings, didn't practice last week, suited up for the game against the Rams just as an emergency plan.
I saw him run before the game. He looked fine.
Well, this is a guy who played through a lacerated kidney, John. You're not going to be able to tell if he's hurt.
John.
That sounds lacerated kidney. When you talk about internal organs, that does sound more serious.
Right.
I know guys have had spleens in this league, kidneys. Like, come on, John.
I got 2 of them.
So he didn't re-injure it at any point in time, not Wednesday when he was limited in practice or anything?
I don't think so. I mean, that would be the common sense theory there, because he practiced on Wednesday and then didn't practice on Thursday. Maybe he woke up and, it just felt bad, or maybe something did happen on Wednesday. I don't think it did, though. I believe Matt LaFleur said there wasn't like a setback or a re-injury, but now it'll be probably more Tucker Kraft, some more Ben Sims, who I don't believe has a catch this year after doing some good things in training camp. Then this Fitzpatrick fella, who they just signed off the Falcons practice squad.
I wanted to see Swinson. I wanted to see Swinson get elevated up.
Why?
I thought, because the guy's 6'8". There's no way that guy can't be an inline blocker.
Well, so can Ben Sims and Tucker Kraft.
I'm just gave you the answer. I don't know what this Fitzpatrick fella does, but he can't be doing what my Messiah Swinson can do.
Yeah, and that's the tough part.
My Messiah Swinson. Come on,
Billy
now what are we talking about?
Homegrown guys.
Yes,
that were here during training.
I want
camp.
some get off the bus guys, John. I want my 6'8" Swinson walking off that bus first. Come on.
He wants to see our development pay off.
Yes, player development. That's what we're about here. Draft and develop. Just like Matt Schneidman at the Athletic. They drafted him. Developed in Las Vegas.
Obviously, Matt hates
with the
they
Oakland
didn't
Raiders.
draft me. I didn't work for the Athletic.
And sounds like you hate Swinson.
I didn't work for the Athletic when I covered the Raiders.
Oh, sorry, the
Review Journal?
No, he was in Oakland probably.
I never lived in Vegas. I worked for the
my bad.
Mercury News in Oakland, California.
Mercury News, owned by the Bay Area Sports Group. I can't remember.
Bay Area News Group. Yep.
Hey, there you go.
Group. Let's go.
There you go.
I know my media.
You know your print journalism.
Yeah, I try to.
That's going to be really, really good at those parties in the 1990s.
I had to book some guests before.
We appreciate, before. Not doing a whole lot of that now. Matt, we appreciate it, man. Have a great show tonight.
All right, talk to you guys Monday.
There he is, Matt Schneidman. I'm probably not going to talk to him on Sunday then, apparently.
Well, you know what he
meant on Monday. So,
he wanted to get off as fast as he could.
Yeah, 100%.
He did not enjoy that interview one bit. I didn't really enjoy it either.
Come on. It was good. It was a good discussion. We discussed some media responsibility, ethics. We discussed, players, the beat, and everything like that. We discussed the psyche of.
I didn't really appreciate it either. Yeah,
I didn't.
There could have been some differences there. There could have been a little bit more fun. There could have, God forbid. But listen,
you're here because I have some questions. Can I just ask you a question without you getting offended?
You guys
this is like 3 days in a row.
Well, John,
when's the last time you guys had Panera lunch? Aren't you guys supposed to have the Panera lunch is supposed to make everything, that's when you guys sit down and
that's when it's supposed to be
break
fun then?
bread, and have that type of thing. I can tell when it's
Are
between
they sharing a bread bowl or something?
Yeah, I can tell between John and Matt when it's testy. It's because
Yeah, when you
I
guys
just
have
think
their romantic-
we just talk to each other too much. It's
I
just
know
too
you
much.
do a lot.
It's just too much.
So less Panera lunch is what you're saying.
Yeah, no more bread bowls. They don't need to be sharing that bread bowl 50-50 anymore. All right, 414-799-1973.
Hey, Panera was a great high school date, man. Or middle,
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You go and grab a couple of bagels after
you can afford
lunch or what?
You could afford
Yeah,
it.
but
You
in a
know?
high
Can't?
school date,
Not
in
now.
high-
Not
Armin,
now. Yeah.
Armin, Panera's a great high school date. Yeah, you're eating the bread bowl in front of your date.
And no chance.
No, you can't get the bread bowl. You're right.
See,
for
look
the
at you.
date. You gotta
Look
get a
at you.
salad.
Now,
or a
how you know you
sandwich.
found the one is if you eat the bread bowl
And
on your
she's-
date.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
The
how
worst-
you know you got a real one.
Like you and Lindsay at Ruby Tuesdays. Wasn't that the place you went?
Well,
I thought you went to
I'm
Ruby
sure we went to
Tuesdays for
Ruby
your first
Tuesdays.
date or something like that.
no, our first date was someplace in Chambersburg. It was supposed to be
Oh.
fancy. Definitely was not fancy. And yeah, we sat
But it
there
worked
and
though.
didn't talk a whole lot, just ate. And that's how I knew she was
See,
a real one.
You're
Yeah,
Because I
right,
can just eat.
right,
I can
that's
just
right.
eat
I gotta
and
eat.
enjoy my food.
I remember our first date with Allie was to a Mexican restaurant in a snowstorm. John got the table side guac. Instantly felt like a baller.
Yes.
Yeah, you know what? You do have to mash that guac right in front of
Yeah.
us. That is going to be the move that locks this thing down. All right, let's go around the NFL. The AP has put out a warning flare to award voters and bettors about somebody in the NFC North. There's somebody with the New York Jets that has some very elite company. Hassan Reddick, fired by his agents. No, didn't fire his agents, fired by his agents. I'll tell you the other case studies that has happened to in the NFL, and we'll go around the week 6 matchups before You Better You Bet. It's 9 to noon with Kuhn, Billy, and Armin on the game.
John Kuhn here for Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. And wouldn't it be nice if you could customize anything? Like I would just have Matt Schneidman come on the show and be nice. Just one time, just one day. But the best part is Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. You can customize your windows and doors and get the look you want for your home. The durability of materials gets tested, and they open and they close doors, latches, shades, all kinds of things, thousands and thousands of times to make sure they last for years to come. Other unique offerings they have include fold-away hardware, custom colors, ease of maintenance, because honestly, who has the time to be doing that? Not you, not I, but Pella Windows and Doors does. They also include innovative features like shades between the glass integrated roll screens and noise reduction. And right now they got a deal for you. 0% interest for 36 months. That's 3 years of no interest financing, but you have to hurry. This offer ends October 31st. By the end of the month, make your way in to the showroom and let Gina Della know that me, John Kuhn, I sent you in there. Certain restrictions apply. Visit PellaWI.com today.
Always looking fly in an Iron Jock hoodie. It's the right way to go and beat the little cool, chilly fall breeze that's hitting your way, and also save in your pocketbooks. IronJOC.com. They're always giving you a deal. And right now through October 13th, when you purchase men's or women's hoodies or joggers, use promo code FALL30, receive 30% off every hoodie and jogger in your cart. You'll also get a free Iron Jock travel towel just for using FALL30, grabbing a hoodie and a jogger. IronJock.com for more details. IronJOC.com. 414-799-1973 is the NicoletLaw.com talk and text line. And it's open. It's always rolling. And today we got a lot of fun conversations throughout. And now we'll skate it around more of the NFL as John, the news throughout the week, and we'll get into a lot of matchups. We got our picks coming up in about a half hour from right now. One piece from the New York Jets, right? They're the newsmakers all week long. Fire Robert Saleh on Tuesday. Then Aaron Rodgers goes on Aaron Rodgers Tuesday on a Wednesday on the McAfee show. Says, I don't know what you guys talking about. Like, I had nothing to do with it. No clue. No idea of any of this is happening. But there's a human element to this. And then yesterday, adjacent to the New York Jets, a man that they traded for, gave a 3rd-round pick for, Haason Reddick, who has not stepped foot in the building for the New York Jets, is fired by his agents at, I believe, CAA was the agency that he had been working with. They fire him. The last guys that I have on record fired by their agents, John, just to show the company that Haason Reddick would be choosing to keep in this role. Last 2 I have are Johnny Manziel and Antonio Brown. So poor company to potentially be keeping if you're Haason Reddick, holding out now going on week 6 in the National Football League.
Yeah, it's not working, kid. It's not working.
Not working.
It's bad if your agent fires you, because I didn't think that could happen. I mean, technically they're working for you, but I guess
CAA is that
creative. It's his marketing agent, I believe.
Marketing, but not football agent.
I don't think so, right? Because David Mulugeta was his guy. I thought his contract agent was different than his marketing agent. I could be wrong.
Mulugeta with CAA.
I don't.
Or is
it's a good question. I'd be honest with you. I would have asked that question to you. I don't know how all that works, John. Like,
I don't know how it works either.
Yeah.
Big time agents and big time agencies and marketing agents and all the stuff that I never had, that I never imagined. Right.
David Dunn from Athletes First was Aaron Rodgers' agent.
This says from Mark Garofolo of NFL Network, CAA had been trying to broker a deal for an extension with the Jets. So this would be his football agent.
So how this happened was the Jets traded the Eagles a 3rd-round pick for Haason Reddick with the idea that Reddick was going to sign an extension with them. The Eagles knew Haason Reddick wanted an extension. They knew how much of a pain in the rump he was going to be trying to get that extension done. So they said, we'll take a 3rd-round pick and let that be somebody else's problem. It turned out it was the Jets' problem. And the Jets, just once again, this goes back to this, Armin, I'm going to say it.
Mm-hmm.
Robert Saleh didn't have a fair shake. Didn't have a fair shake.
Okay.
He's got a terrible record, but he didn't have a fair shake. Like what that team has given him, and Haason Reddick being part of it, Nathaniel Hackett being another part of it, it's just, how do you expect that to work? And you should have better foresight than bringing a guy. Everybody in the world knew he wanted an extension. Everybody in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And you still traded for him without an extension.
It does seem like malpractice.
You got to talk to the agent ahead of time. You got to say what's the numbers going to be. You got to say yes. And now we're finding out maybe the Jets did do that.
Yeah, maybe there's more to this.
And maybe after they did it, the agent's like, okay, now you gotta sign this extension. Nope, not going to sign it.
Doing it.
I want more. No, it doesn't work that way. When you and your agent, because I'm going to tell you this, agents, especially big time agencies like this, they're incredibly aggressive. They will make suggestions to you that you think, no way, I don't want to offend them. But it's the agent's job to do the negotiating.
Mm-hmm.
I was terribly uncomfortable asking for the stuff that I asked for over my career. But my agent told me, don't worry, John, I have all the evidence right here. That's just like going into a courtroom and arguing a case. And I'll be able to argue your case. Okay, I got to trust you. And you put a lot of faith into these agents.
Mm-hmm.
I was not comfortable with a couple things. And they came through. Bing, bang, boom.
Grab
a couple days, they talked about it. Here,
Mhm.
John, you got it. Wow. You knew what you were talking about. These agents will suggest things to you that you can't believe. So getting fired by an agent is unimaginable to me. You have to commit some sort of heinous crime for that agent to get rid of you.
Yeah, and the other part for you there would be no chance for you to be making them money as well, right? And they're working now without the cash. Jets, the holdout for Reddick now after missing the 5 games, he's nearly forfeiting $800,000 per game, totaling over $4 million bucks. On top of this, he's accumulated more than $5 million in NFL mandated fines. And Reddick is just a fascinating case study in and of himself. As a former walk-on at Temple, I believe, played for Matt Rule when he was at Temple, John. And like Matt Rule, who I respect in football, tells like multiple stories of Hassan Reddick coming in and being like, I got maybe a semester left that I can actually afford, right? Like, and then breaking it down to all of a sudden finally getting him on scholarship after taking out a couple of loans. So like he's fought for his opportunity. He's made over 50 million bucks in the league, but then to just dig in, he's on the final year of, I believe, a 3-year, $45 million deal with no more guaranteed money ahead of him. I'm just stunned you wouldn't take something at some point. And now I know that sounds defeatist, but that's clearly where CAA is looking at him saying, fellas, we've negotiated 4 different deals that he should have signed by now. He's not going to sign. So maybe now we quit asking, right? Like maybe he just doesn't want to go anymore and we gotta cut bait. That is a fascinating spot because company you keep is ultimately how people will define your character. That's not good company to be keeping in NFL circles if it's Johnny Manziel and Antonio Brown at the end of his time.
Danny Pinashaw asks, can I give some examples of things that I asked for that I thought were crazy?
Free candy bars.
One was this. The precedent of this was crazy, but the request is not crazy. So what they had in contracts back in the day, and I think they still do, are these things called splits. So if you get injured, people don't know this. This is the sneaky thing about the NFL. If you get injured, you only get half your money. If you get injured and put on IR, you only get half your money.
That's interesting. Greg and Franklin thinks all these guaranteed contracts are just such a ruse.
How about that?
Half, Greg.
So you go and you play and you put your body on the line. And if your body breaks, because it is a body,
we're going to give you half.
We're going to give you half that money. One thing my agent suggested is, we're not going to sign that. You're not going to put that in my contract. And the Packers were, we put that in every contract. If we do it for you, we're going to have to do it for other people. And we said, well, you're going to have to do it for me to play because I'm not going to go out there and break something. Plus, they can put you on IR for anything.
Just
be another reason to pay you less.
Right. Plus,
that was one of the things.
So.
Another one was a Pro Bowl bonus that we had to fight to get, even though I made a Pro Bowl, and we won that case too. So there was a couple things out there that we asked for and we fought for and we got. Packers were always very professional about it, though. Very cool. It was great. I was just spooked because I being cut 7 times in the NFL made you feel like if you ever asked for anything, you were going to get cut again.
Sure.
That's just what it was.
They're going to say, hey, we appreciate that ask. We're going to ask for that iPad back.
Yeah.
We're going to need that playbook. Thank you. Appreciate you. 414-799-1973. OG Nooner George in Rapids also hit the NicolaLaw.com talking text line with 2918 pack. Let's go to Carnivore. Well, Nooner George, you got a couple of things tied together there, right? This is the score prediction for you to be able to get yourself into a wide open Wayne's Day predictions for You Better You Bet. That would then be able to get you into the playoffs. You win the playoffs, then we're going to Carnivore. Now, George,
this is
a couple steps here that we got to get to.
But it's a 3-step process here for OG Nooner George, not dissimilar for trying to get Romeo to talk, right? First you ask, and then you demand, then you send a letter, and then you fine.
And then you fine him. And then you fine him. Hopefully we're not getting fined by Nooner George. Hopefully he's enjoying Carnivore with us. Or you are. If you're our contestant during You Better You Bet. That's about 20 minutes away from right now when we hit our investment hour at 9 to noon. We're back after this on The Game. Hey guys, best time of year, football season, right in full swing. Hit the 1/3 mark of the NFL season. And if you're still sitting on the sidelines and not joining over 1 million fans across 33 states, playing and making picks on Underdog Fantasy, I got to ask, what are you doing? This weekend is the time to get in on the action. You can win up to 1,000 times your money in a single night by choosing higher or lower on your favorite player stats this fall. Touchdowns, passing yards, receiving yards, receptions, whatever it is, tackles. You can make your own experience on the Underdog Fantasy app. I love it. It's super easy. Making picks on Underdog is straightforward, and signing up is even easier. Just head over to Underdog's simple-to-use mobile app or UnderdogFantasy.com. Sign up with promo code Billy, B-I-L-L-Y, and Underdog will give you a free pick to use on your first cash pick'em entry, plus up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you deposit. That's Underdog Fantasy, promo code Billy. Claim your new customer special of a free pick and your deposit offer. Play this weekend, Underdog Fantasy. Must be 18 plus and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. Oh.
What happened?
So quick adjustment on the fly.
Okay.
This is 9 to noon statewide on the game. He's John Kuhn, two-time Super Bowl champion. I'm Billy Schmidt. That's Harmon Sarian, as they would say, spinning the stacks of wax way in the back. Right? Is that it?
Yeah,
Close enough.
shredding the ones and twos.
Yeah, shredding those ones and twos and slicing a couple in.
Pumping wattage in your cottage.
Oh, okay, boss.
Okay.
All right, I don't need to know about what
Whoa!
you're. I don't need to know what you're
Jeez,
pumping.
Harmon,
Okay?
get a little risque out here.
Holy
now.
cow!
No wattage. It's a radio station.
No,
Yeah,
we get it,
sure.
we get
Yeah,
it.
that's what you're pumping.
Yeah, we got lingo for everything here.
Yeah. Well, now why I was thinking about
we were
this.
talking about muffs the other day and everything.
Mhm. Oh yeah, big muff
Now
program.
you got wattage going on.
Wattage.
Big
Yes.
wattage energy. But you were at the cottage in that, and kind of leans into this one. So I don't know if you guys had the same situation last night. Internet, a wild place right now, because I'm trying to avoid the videos of the robots rolling through. And then instead it was, hey, look at this photograph.
Oh,
Hey,
yeah.
look at this picture. Look at this picture. Look at, I saw the Northern Lights. Look at the picture of the Northern Lights here. Look at my picture of the lights. I got a picture of lights. I'm like, holy cow. What am I missing? It was every single post last night was either these crazy robots, which John, I don't want to see from Elon. All right. I'm done with the robots, or everyone's picture of the sky, which I'm like, I looked outside. I didn't see anything. So it was just,
Why
strange.
does do we need a filter? Am I missing something here that all these people, because Andy and all them down there in Milwaukee are always posting pictures and stuff of the Northern Lights, and they always see it great. And
they're seeing it great.
Statman
thought
Steve
being-
getting the pictures. Yeah.
I thought being up at the cottage, no real city lights up here.
You should be free and
you
clear.
should be able to see it really. I feel like I'm making it up.
Yeah.
I didn't see a damn thing.
Yeah,
I see them, kinda. I think, but I think I'm making it up that I'm seeing them. But the robots, man, I can tell you one thing. I'll never, ever. They're talking about. I mean, watch out for Dan O'Donnell walking around down.
Oh,
there.
he's fired up.
Dan was giving us some ideas. Yes.
Fired up.
between the robots and the automated vehicles. One thing I can promise you, I'll never get in to a vehicle. I will never get in it. I won't even sit down while it's not driving to see if it's comfortable. I won't even sit down and get in a car that doesn't have a steering wheel and a pedal,
And a person.
let alone a person.
Let alone a person.
If it doesn't have a steering wheel and a pedal for a person, I know it's not for me.
I need to save
I know
that
it's
son
not
of a
for
gun.
me.
Mhm.
Just because they and then if they have a steering wheel and a pedal, they need to have a person too. Because I'm not getting in a car letting it drive me around. No, it's not.
Sure
gonna drive me
feels
around.
like
I'm
the-
going to drive my car.
You got.
I'm going to drive, or somebody else is going to drive me so I
Uh-huh.
can talk to them.
No, I'm with you, and I want to hear a little backstory. And I might Armin Sarian interrogate that Uber driver, and they will. If you're on the West Coast, I know I had to fight this last year when Butchie and I went to the Final Four.
Right.
John, I went on Uber, and it almost like automatically selected me to one of the self-driving cars. Sir, no chance, no chance, no. Move me to a person. These robots walking around here, I'm seeing them flip burgers, tap beer. Maybe better than certain individuals that I've been around where I'm like, bro, have you ever had a keg before? Like, you ever poured a beer? There was no foam. Like, they're doing some of the easiest tasks in the world, but doing them really, really well. And I don't like it.
But they're
I don't
not
like
doing
it.
it well. They're not doing it well because there's a touch. There's a touch that a person puts on everything, whether it's flipping a
Little
burger
love.
or whether it's serving you a beer. And you know what? There's something about a perfect beer and its imperfections. Like the perfect beer is not filled all the way to the top with this skinny little amount of foam. No, the perfect beer actually has a tiny little bit dribbling down the side. It's actually missing just a little bit, right? That's the perfect pour.
Yeah, the human
so that when you
touch.
hold it and you sit, if you get a perfect beer, you don't need a coaster. Why do you need a coaster?
That's true.
You need
Yep.
a coaster because the perfect beer actually has a little bit of beer pouring down the side. And listen, I don't want a robot pour my beer. In fact, I don't like the self-pour places. The self-pour play. I want to talk to a damn bar. I came out to have somebody serve me, not to pay to serve myself. What are we doing here?
Yeah. How about the one where you just stick the cup down on the ground and
And
all
it
of a sudden it
goes-
fills up from the bottom? That's creepy enough.
I
You know
will
they
tell
have. Go
I
ahead.
played
John.
with a guy in college whose
was
company. No,
Oh.
I went to school with a guy in college who created a self-pour company. I don't know if it's the big one, but it's a self-pour company
Oh,
to
almost
all
swore.
these different bars and stuff. Okay, he's big time.
yeah,
He's big time.
seriously.
And I told him that's a stupid idea.
What
What do you mean?
Nobody's gonna
stupid.
do that, dude.
Who wants to go to a bar and serve themselves? He's like, everybody. Don't everybody wants to go behind the bar and pour their beers? I said, that's stupid. Guy's a millionaire now, so maybe I was
Yeah.
stupid.
Yeah, maybe
But
we were the stupid ones.
but-
Yeah.
I don't want to go there. And I told him that. He's like, here's a bunch of tickets. Give it to your teammates. You can go drink for free anytime. I'm like, I don't want these. Get them out of here. I think it's a stupid idea.
Yeah, I don't need that
It can
here.
be a little much, and this is getting a little kind of weird for me to have these robots riding around. Maybe we are going to finally live in the Jetsons, but I mean, I'm going to miss that human connection. I tried that iTipsy in the Vegas, the Tipsy robot, what do they call it? Where the bar, it's a AI robot that makes your drink.
Yeah.
You know, you just punch it in. It was the worst drink. It was like 25 bucks.
Oh,
It was splashing on the side. You know, you miss half the drink because it splashes out. There's no touch. It's just dumping everything in one.
not
and
like
then-
Tony in Vegas makes you at the
Yeah.
casino bar at the MGM Grand.
Right, and I had no conversation.
Spinning and flipping and catching
Yeah,
behind his
exactly.
back while he's talking to you, keeping eye contact like
Uh-huh.
that. You can't teach that. That is
You
perfect.
know, no conversation. You know, I didn't like it. You know,
Did you tip it?
I can't remember. You probably had to.
Did it spin the screen around on you and say,
Yeah, that
would you like to select 15, 25%, 25% or a 50% tip?
It's probably pre-included on the receipt. And you just don't notice it. I mean,
Apparently,
it is Vegas.
we are not smart here, guys, on the Northern Lights. Apparently, we had to look at it through night vision on my phone. So
Oh,
is it
sure.
a kaleidoscope?
Oh, night vision.
This
on your
sounds
phone.
wait.
so fake.
Oh, wow.
We need
Night
the
mode,
glasses.
sorry,
We need
night
the
mode.
glasses that we needed to actually see the eclipse that we didn't have, and we all tried to make our own glasses.
This felt like that 3D art when I was a kid,
Yeah.
and everyone else could see it. I couldn't see it.
No, I could see that. but
I
you had to-
could not
you had to-
see it.
But you had to cross your eyes, and your mom would always tell you if you
Don't-
keep doing
Yeah,
that,
don't do
your eyes
that.
are going to stay
You
like
can
that.
stay like that. Yep.
Instead, if you want to enjoy the Northern Lights, Happy Place Hemp and happyplacehemp.com. 25% off your entire order when you use promo code Billy at happyplacehemp.com. Delta 8 gummies. Maybe then the Northern Lights are popping. Maybe. I don't know. Didn't see them last night, and I may have enjoyed one during Thursday Night Football. Hour 3 of 9 to noon, our best hour of the day, our absolute favorite one, and our investment hour of the week is coming up next. The picks you need to beat to eat with the guys at Carnivore are coming up on the game. 9 to noon on your radio, on your iHeartRadio app, statewide on the game, and on YouTube and X. Thanks for streaming the show. As always, you can always find the video link right there and hang out with Armin Sarian and myself, Billy Schmidt, inside the iHeart Megaplex, and John Coon with all of you on the NicoletLaw.com talk and text line. Hour 3, once we hit our stride, get the shooting shirts off, and most importantly, today in about 5 to 10 minutes, we're going to give you the picks that you need to beat to eat with the guys at Carnivore in You Better, You Bet. But John, also, we got to put that number out there at 414-799-1973, because that's where the score predictions are coming in right now for Packers and Cardinals. We'll give ours later on in the show. Great news for the Nooners here today. Armin Sarian has taken our sound advice on the score predictions.
Yes.
Taken photographs of them, and then be able to actually fact check who's going to be the contestant for You Better, You Bet on Wide Open Wednesday.
Isn't it wild with Armin? It's just we got to bang on him for a while. Like,
pause.
Just keep drumming him, just drumming him with ideas until he finally tries to take one of those or decides to take one of those bits of advice that makes his life a lot easier and a lot better. We've been telling him for 5 weeks, take the pictures of the scores so you don't have to struggle, so you don't have to grind. Finally, he listens. I've been telling him for years.
That's what it is.
Clean your desk. If you clean your desk, you're not missing all the different, create files, multiple files. Don't just have
another good
one.
I have files.
Don't just have one doc of everybody that's played You Better, You Bet, and don't have a second doc of people who've won and think you can just put an asterisk beside a name, because one little slip of a finger, you accidentally put an asterisk beside a different name, and it means something completely different. He doesn't listen. He's hard-headed. We love him.
Oh, yeah.
He gets the work done.
You got it all figured out. Yeah.
Got it all figured out over here,
John. I am taking pictures, of course.
There we go. I'm proud of you for finally doing that. Taking our advice. Really, John, what we had to do is we just had to keep giving it to him, hit him over upside the head with the information until it became his idea.
Right. That's
now it's a genius idea.
Well,
what's next? What's the next big thing
pictures.
we can teach Armin that he won't do until he does it once and realizes it's the best thing for him?
Well,
that's a good question.
You're not going to realize it until you think of it.
That's a good question.
I don't do it. So, it's one of those things that it has to happen naturally. You can't just predict what the next thing's going to be, or else you would have already thought about it.
Well, I actually have thought about what's next. And what is next for us is to deliver some winners. And whatever that turnaround was, John, more importantly, we can't have those spin arounds. We need to lock and load. We need to deliver some winners. And more importantly, this is a tough week. And luckily the Nooners pick it up, because the host did forget to say for our contestant, Benny and Merton knows the drill because he's smart.
Better.
You better, you bet.
You better.
You better bet it pays to sometimes correct the host. Hey, it's 11 o'clock. I know they need a contestant for You Better, You Bet. Somebody forgot to put the call out for a caller at 414-799-1973. Benny and Merton was ready, willing, and able to deliver us some winners here today. And he is now our contestant on the NicoletLaw.com talking text line as we step up to the Potawatomi Sportsbook to deliver some winners. Benny is trying to beat the guys so he can eat with the guys at Carnivore, Milwaukee's premier steakhouse for over 15 years. The finest cuts of steak in Wisconsin, whether it's domestic cuts of steak, international Wagyu cuts of steak. You want to go to Australia, Japan,
go down under.
The absolute.
I tried my Australian
Great
accent.
job. That was actually really great. By the way, guys,
probably could after a dinner at Carnivore.
By the way, did you see Omar had a bunch of the Lakers in at Carnivore? It was
did
a preseason
see that,
game.
yes.
You can host them. You can host them for a preseason game. Said Carnival is always a pretty great reason to travel to Milwaukee. I mean, here we go. He's just advertising the city.
I don't see LeBron complaining now about going to Carnivore and getting dinner.
He had a
what a just brat. What a brat. I got to get on a plane and go play a preseason game in Milwaukee.
Damn it. And then he played, and then I wasn't there. I was salty about that. I was quite salty.
Yeah, but you saw Giannis chase him down for his
swat that thing out of the yard.
Giannis will never turn it off. We're going to quit just imagining it will happen. He's never going to not play 100%. Sorry.
No, that's not happening. So quit asking.
Yeah.
Bucks basketball for keeps in a week and a half. Actual regular season games coming up very, very quickly. But Omar and the gang, anybody coming into Milwaukee wants to eat at Carnivore. Anybody living in Milwaukee, listening to 9 to noon, wants to eat at Carnivore, Milwaukee's premier steakhouse, where modern experience meets a classic steakhouse at Carnivore, Milwaukee's premier steakhouse. That's why Benny and Merton was waiting anxiously and patiently to try to be our contestant on You Better You Bet, and capitalized here today. Benny, thanks for dialing it up. Thanks for being ready with some winners. Let's hear your first going into week 6 in the NFL.
All right, first pick, I got the Falcons.
Benny is taking the Falcons, laying 6 in Carolina. John, this is where we start knowing some things that are going on with our picks. This is a very fascinating one because this is a late afternoon kick in Carolina. I can't imagine anybody cares about this game in Carolina, but the Falcons needing this game because they can be making some moves here in the NFC South.
Yeah, NFC South, the NFC altogether. I mean, I heard radio show, I forget who it was. They were talking, it might have even been Heller a couple of days ago, about the NFC and who the best team in the NFC was. A lot of people think it's not San Francisco anymore. They think it's the Lions or the Vikings. And those are really the only two teams they say. Doesn't the NFC feel, I mean, we came into this, we thought it was going to be Eagles. We thought it was going to be 49ers. And now this thing looks like, man, it's wide open for anybody to take it.
It feels like one of those races where all 8 guys can cross the finish line within a half second of each other. Like the last 100 meters, like basically, you know?
Yeah, that team that played last night, I still ain't counting them out. I'm not going to be counting out San Francisco at all. But this one's fun because the Atlanta Falcons have corrected some things. They got themselves a veteran quarterback that likes to lead comebacks. And Benny likes them laying 6 on the road at Carolina this week. Benny, what's your next pick?
Next pick is Bucks over the Saints.
Taking the Tampa Bay Bucks, laying 3.5 at New Orleans. John, there's a phrase in sports gambling where people say the square pick. That is where everybody and their brother is generally on a team, very publicly backed. This would be the square pick for us this week because I think every single person on You Better You Bet has taken Tampa Bay going to Caesar Superdome.
Oh, really?
It seems like it. Seems like it. Interesting.
Armin, what do the picks say on that?
Let me just review our picks.
Feels like just about everybody has gone through Tampa.
No, let me just review our picks because they're all right here in front of me.
Because you got all of them ready?
Yep.
You got all of them there?
Schwarzenegger did not pick them, but Brian and Eau Claire did pick the Bucks. Now he got it at 2.5.
That was before they for sure ruled Derek Carr out.
Mark and West Bend had him at 3.5, and then this will be Benny and Merton. And then we'll wait and see in your guys. So 3 out of the 5, we'll have the
3 out of
Buccaneers.
5, that is a square pick.
That's 60%. And sometimes it's hip to be square. Sometimes it's okay to be square. Sometimes those win. Sometimes they don't.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Somebody told you that in
You've
high
been
school?
singing that song for a long time.
Yeah.
Why? What are you guys saying?
Sometimes the
I'm
nice
square?
guys win.
No, I'm just saying.
Now, if you tease it all the way back, buy the points. Teasing is different.
Yeah.
I can't call it teasing. That's a different betting lingo. Yep.
All right. Benny and Merton, let's save Armin
what's
from
that
his,
guy?
let's save Armin from his misery. What's your next pick?
Third is the Bengals.
He's taking the Cincinnati Bengals, laying 4 at the New York Football Giants. That is Sunday Night Football. Joe Burrow and company got themselves the big victory, got T. Higgins and Jamar Chase into the end zone twice. And they get, it looks like, John, the Giants without Malik Neighbors at MetLife Stadium on Sunday Night Football.
Man, Benny's picking some games here. I might have to switch some picks up here, make a last minute audible, Benny. You got to think the Mayday is being sounded in Cincinnati very, very loud right now. They need a win in the worst way. And somehow the Giants could find themselves in a rather meaningful spot. Put a fork in them. Maybe we have to consider the Giants as something this year.
Yeah, very interesting.
I can't believe I'm saying that.
Well, and they can definitely beat somebody and upset somebody's playoff party. That's for sure. And they've done that a couple of different times. Benny's saying not so fast, my friend, taking Cincinnati. Benny, what's your next pick?
Next pick, I got to go with the Pack this weekend.
Taking the Green Bay Packers at home, laying 5. This one is set pretty close to 5.5 for one day this week. Consistent on the number. And John, consistently a game that we've talked a lot about, feeling like it should be all systems go. But we know how sometimes these noon booms can be a little bit dicey at Lambeau Field 1-score games late.
that bad boy's been sitting at 5 all week long. I think this is a safe victory. We know the track record for teams that do play a week after playing the San Francisco 49ers and the Lions. They don't do very well. Those physical beat you up games tends to take a little something out of those teams. And even if they are victorious, they are not victorious very often the following week. And I think this sets up well for the Packers coming home, should get a little bit healthier. And I like the spread of 5. I'm not picking it, however, because I do acknowledge that there's a slim chance that Kyler Murray does something crazy on Sunday. And I like making fun of the Nooners when they can't beat us.
Yeah, I do appreciate that. It's one of our favorite things about this segment and about this show. Let's see if Benny can beat us with his final pick and his lock of the week at the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Benny, what is it?
The lock is the Texans.
Locking in the Houston Texans, laying 6.5 on the road. And this is going to be Drake May's first start in the National Football League for the New England Patriots.
I'll tell you guys,
I'm fascinated by it.
I'm fascinated by this game, actually,
and very, very interested to hear how this goes for our next picks coming up here. Because John Kuhn, that was a deep, deep breath right there after you heard that last pick and that lock from Benny.
Benny, thanks for your picks.
Appreciate you, Benny.
Thanks for putting them in. Check in next week, see how you do. And I sigh. I have that big sigh because Benny picked 4 games that I picked. So now I got to go on here and I got to exactly the same. And I'm not doing that with Benny. I'm not going to do it. So I'm going to mix it up. I'll tell you one thing. I am going to be square. I'm going to take the Buccaneers minus 3.5 at NOLA. I think it's going to be a tough place to play. I think 3.5 is going to be hard to cover, but I'm not buying all the jargon that I'm listening to out of the locker room in New Orleans telling us that everybody's on board with Desmond Ridder. Well, if everybody was on board with Desmond Ridder, why wasn't he starting in the first place? I mean, you were playing, it wasn't like you were playing Peyton Manning in there. You had Derek Carr, and he was struggling. So, I like the Bucs in this one minus 3.5. Cowboys +3 versus Lions. Dak Prescott already called it. He said, we're winning, and we're getting back to doing something. We can't lose 3 games at home. They are now 3-0 on the road, and this could potentially be 0-3 at home. Cowboys are catching points, and they're at home, and Dak already guaranteed them a win. I'm taking them. Cowboys +3. Eagles -9. Sounds good to me. The Browns stink. Deshaun Watson stinks, and it turns out he's the worst quarterback the Browns have had since the year 2000. He's the richest, makes the most money, but he has the worst EPA any Browns quarterback has had since the year 2000. A quarter century, Armin.
That's a lot of years, man.
That is bad. That's how bad he is, and they wish they could get out of that, but they can't. Eagles -9. A lot of wood on this one, too. Ravens -7 versus the Commanders. Everybody says the Commanders are for real. Commanders are for real. Jaden Daniels for real. Yeah, I believe you. I believe they're for real, but guess what? Derrick Henry is too. Lamar Jackson is too. And they haven't even gotten Mark Andrews involved yet in this offense. I like the Ravens sending a wake-up call to Washington. You're good, young rookie. You're good, Washington Commanders. But now you stepped into the big leagues, and we're going to take you down here. Ravens at home, -7. And then there's one more I'm not going to give up because of Benny. I'm not going to give this one up because this one is my lock. Texans -6.5. It's been my lock all week. I love the fact that the Texans play this early game because they play good in the early slot. If you look at their record in the early time slot over the last 2 years, they only have 1 loss. They continue that streak on here. They continue that streak going on here, even though it's on the road at New England.
Chainsaws out. You guys have a lot of wood. A lot of wood to deal with this. A lot of favorites. And this league this year, that's dangerous. Listen, I'm not saying there's any longer logic. I get why these are favorite games. I get why
over 5.5 favorites too.
I hope the chainsaws are working this Sunday. That's all I'm saying, Billy.
Well, I got some. I got
yours.
I'm going to lay some as well, and I'll start with the Green Bay Packers. Now, one of Benny's picks is also going to be mine. I'm going to take the Packers laying the 5. I'm with John that this thing very well could be more than just interesting if Kyler Murray does some magic. I also think even with the wind, even with potential of some rain coming up on Sunday, I still think there's a bunch of points in this game. I think the Packers win. I think they win not super convincingly, but I think they win with a late score that pushes it over the 5.
Over.
And give me an over for the Green Bay Packers beating the Arizona Cardinals this weekend, laying the 5 points. I'm going to take, and I told myself I wasn't going to do it anymore.
Uh-oh.
I just can't. I just can't quit it.
Oh, I know they told me to leave those Zins at home,
but I just can't do it. Give me the Jags waking up early morning. Listen, this program needs to win in London, because if the Jags don't win in London, the whole program's gone. Doug Peterson's gone. Trent Baalke's going to be gone.
I would love if they beat the Bears.
Trevor Lawrence is not going to be gone because he can't go anywhere. And somebody is going to go in to a beautiful situation, building a new stadium, potentially playing in Gainesville or Daytona. Jags win, and they win next week. And they're right back into the conversation. I'm taking the Jags plus the 1.5 against the Chicago Bears this weekend. I'm also taking a 3-point dog at home, and I'm taking the Denver Broncos against Los Angeles. Chargers are coming off a bye, should be healthier. Their 2 tackles in Rashawn Slater and Joe Alt should be healthier. They're one of the better scoring defenses in all of football. But I also like what that defense is doing for the Denver Broncos. And I have not seen Justin Herbert look all that good all year long. Now, is he feeling healthier? I assume off his bye, he's feeling a little bit better. I'm also thinking that Riley Moss and company in the back end of that Denver secondary, pick hunting. Jim Leonard's secondary is waiting to feast and put him into a DC role in the NFL. Give me the Broncos plus 3. I'll take the money line as well. I'm also going to take the Cincinnati Bengals on Monday Night Football, laying the 4. I'm doubling down on my statement last week. I said I'm betting against the Giants. I took the Seahawks laying 7, John. I said I'd lay 17. They got beat by 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, they did.
I'll lay 14 with the Bengals this weekend. I only got to lay 4. They're going to blow out the Giants on Sunday Night Football. And John Mara is going to have a tough night sleeping, because he's going to have just watched Xavier McKinney get another pick for the Green Bay Packers and watch Saquon Barkley score 2 touchdowns and then see his team get routed at home. That's going to be a tough night. And my final one, the lock of the week, I'm flying out with the Yinzers to Las Vegas. If there is a fan base that I would want to hit the town in Sin City with, more than Packers fans like we did a year ago this past weekend, it would be Pittsburgh Steelers fans.
Oh, yeah.
I think the IC light is going to be flowing. They might have flown some out with them, because I don't know that a whole lot of casinos have IC light. Doesn't matter.
I bet Old Red has it.
Doesn't matter. Pittsburgh fans are going to drink whatever you got. They're going to be loud. Terrible towels are going to be rolling. And Aiden O'Connell is going to have no idea what hit him as he starts for Gardner Minshew and the Las Vegas Raiders.
No, he won't.
Lock in the Pittsburgh Steelers laying 3 in Las Vegas.
I love this. Billy took a gritty Tomlin, an average gritty Tomlin team, an average gritty Sean Payton team, and then 2 teams that if they lose, they could lose their coaches.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Could be fired.
I mean,
yep.
He took a wild stab at a couple of these games.
And I was this close to taking the Jets. But I think I'm gonna lay the Bills on Monday Night Football. I'm not positive, but those are the 5 winners for us coming up here in You Better You Bet. Now those are winners, right? We like to say winners. We're gonna choke your bookie out. You can't at Potawatomi Casino Sportsbook, because it is such a beautiful place. You're gonna sit there in awe of the massive screen and all the winners that people are having around you, that you're not even gonna care if you lose. But this one is gonna get it all back, because it's a can't miss.
Presented by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Bet big, bet bold.
Well, it took injuring one of the most productive running backs in all of the NFL for me to finally have an unsuccessful week. The streak is done. We went over 2 months. It's
Great
been
run, guys.
It's been very early August since I did not have a winning week. We have been doing nothing but winning. We're not even in school yet.
They weren't even
The
in
last
school
time we
yet.
had a losing week.
Yeah, I mean, a
We were
lot
still
happened.
enjoying the last few weeks of summer. The break in the pool, the baseball game. Now it is over. Jordan Mason got injured last night. 73 yards rushing.
Oh, brutal.
73 yards rushing in the first half. I needed 84.5 in the game. Jordan Mason came back for 1 test run at the start of the second half, and they decided it was curtains. Your shoulder is banged, bruised, and beaten. No, long gone are the days of Emmitt Smith running at the Meadowlands on a separated shoulder and continuing to run. No, we're just going to take you out and save you for the future games. Okay, so there's the can't miss. It's over. So why don't I just give you something to really enjoy? I told you, Ohio State is going out to Oregon, and they're going to welcome the Ducks to the big old 10. And they're going to welcome them in a big old way. And it's going to be weird to see Oregon and Ohio State in a 2 versus 3 matchup. Big Ten has had a lot of these in recent years. Ohio State's been in a lot of them. Oregon hasn't. I'm going to take Ohio State -3 out there against Oregon. Now, one little caveat here. Teams do not travel well going to the West Coast out of the Big Ten. Matt LePay told us about that. I think Ohio State is going to break that trend. One thing you got to watch out for, though.
What's that? Oh, my.
What I just said.
Oh, I
Teams
got
going
you.
out from
I'm
the-
sorry.
Mm-mm.
I thought you had something else. I
Don't
thought
have
there
to
was-
worry about it.
I thought there was another thing you'd watch.
Ashton
out.
Genty ran for $180 on these boys and
Yeah.
silenced that crowd. Ohio State might run for 200.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a very, very quiet fourth quarter in Austin. I think it's going to
Really?
be a fantastic game to watch. But I think Ohio State's going to bludgeon them. And I think that's exactly what it's going to be.
I think they are too, Billy. I think this is going to be a big old blowout. One of those planting the flag type scenes for
Mhm.
Ohio State. If you think about it, Day's got a lot of wins, but he needs to make his mark. He needs to win the Big
Yeah,
Ten. He
good
needs to go to
point.
the college football playoffs, and he needs to at least go to the national championship game this year with this $20 million roster.
Yeah, they have one of the best teams, and they have not been tested yet. Oregon has, but Ohio State has just rolled pretty much everybody, and they got one of the coolest freshmen around. We're talking about Ryan Williams, Jeremiah Smith, to somebody to be able to watch there for the Ohio State Buckeyes.
Let's be honest. I'm so certain about this. I tried to pick it last Friday.
Yeah, you were ready to pick it last Friday. You were dialed in on this one for a week.
Indeed.
That is sharp money. That's sharp money that you get here on the Can't Miss with Potawatomi Sportsbook, our favorite sportsbook. And let's be honest, best one this side of the Mississippi. You're not finding anything better on this side of the Mississippi than at Potawatomi Sportsbook. John Coons right there. I'm Billy Schmidt. Armin Sarian alongside. You're on the NicoletLaw.com talking text line. Score predictions, continuum coming in on the NicoletLaw.com talking text line. We got ours coming up. It's 9 to noon on the Game. 9 to noon on the game. Games are on the game. Tomorrow, 9 a.m. pregame, 11 a.m. kick for the Wisconsin Badgers visiting the Scarlet Knights of Rutgers. Mike Heller will take you through that pregame at 9. We talked to Matt LePay, who will have the call with Mark Tauscher earlier on today. They'll do it at 11, and then myself and Lance Allen have the postgame for you tomorrow coming up for Badgers and Knights. And then Sunday, you already know the game is on the game. You're home for Packers football, 97.3 the game. Packers and Cardinals, 10 a.m. early look.
Yes, early look right away.
Not the first look.
Yeah, the early look.
That would be a tomorrow thing for weddings, right? Tomorrow is the first
That's
look.
a different
the
deal,
early
totally.
look is when John Kuhn on the sidelines visits Wayne Larrivee and Larry McCarron to kick off Packers preview. One of my favorite segments because you get the feeling of the ground. You can already feel the excitement from Larry McCarron when he pops the microphone on because the sun will hopefully be shining. Now we're not positive about the sun shining on Sunday.
Right.
Might be a little wet, might be a little windy, but it'll feel like October football when you guys fire that thing up at 10 a.m. to start Packers preview and start the Packers game day broadcast on the Packers radio network, John, coming up at 10 on Sunday morning.
Yeah, inclement weather potential. I mean, that's what we're looking at here. 50, maybe a little bit of rain. The great equalizer is what I like to call it. Generally brings, both sides back down to a more neutral spot. And the Packers being the home team, they should fare a little bit better outside in the rain since, we kind of
do this thing.
And they play inside, even though they play on grass.
Maybe.
So,
Yeah.
what do you guys think though about going out here, Kyler Murray? Like, would you take the tarp off early? Do you just do that? Do you just go all out and say this
Absolutely,
guy's
I do.
so fast? Even I mean, those days are gone in the NFL of really. Teams used to water their fields when they would have a fast athletic team coming in. Well, here we got an opportunity to take advantage of some rain, let it get the field wet. Let's do this. I can't imagine Al Johnson's going to want his field getting all messed up though.
No, I can't think he's a big fan of that, but I would encourage it, John, because even though the Cardinals' path to success, we talked a lot about Kyler Murray, Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to get his name heard. You're going to see Trey McBride, the other 85 on their side, young tight end. That kid can play, coming from Colorado State as well. But James Conner is going to be the way that this offense starts and kind of ends for the Arizona Cardinals if it's successful. I don't think it's a bad thing to try and see if they've listened to your advice on the cleat selection. And that'll always be one of the early conversations because we've seen it firsthand and the Packers have seen it so much more than maybe opposing teams. That first, 2 or 3 series could be very, very big. I know it's cliche. I know it's the easiest thing to say. Fast start is going to be so crucial to the Packers coming up this weekend. The furthest thing from a fast start, going down 28-0 to the Minnesota Vikings.
Oh, yeah.
But more importantly, getting a couple of first downs, John, and being able to cash in the red zone early might be the biggest key to a fast start for the Packers, is getting success in the red area.
Yeah, if you look at last week, they did not have success early. They did not. In fact, they didn't really have success until their defense generated some momentum with some turnovers. If you really take a look at last week's game against the Rams, which feels like it was forever ago already, and people probably forget the game, Packers were not playing good in the first half.
No, not at all. Not at all.
3 3-and-outs and a pick 6. That's really not good. And one of your touchdowns was kind of a yeet ball to Jaden Reed that he made a miraculous catch. Can you imagine, like, if Jaden Reed doesn't make that catch on that play with a man draped over the top of him? Packers
Totally different.
they might have only had 3 points in the entire half,
Yeah.
and that's a whole different ball game in the second half.
They had 4 first downs on 5 first half drives before the drive of the 2-minute drill to get into field goal range after the pick 6. Like, it was all 3-and-outs other than the deep ball to Jaden Reed. And they also struggled to be able to hold the football. Time of possession might be a little, some people think it's an overrated stat. Some people think it's an underrated stat. I think it's pretty impactful. It generally tells you the game. Sometimes can be a little misleading, but this one, for them to be able to sustain some drives, John, that was the biggest thing they were unable to do. Being 1 of 8 on 3rd down, you're just not going to be able to make a whole lot of hay in the NFL doing that.
Yeah, and I generally think that they're going to be better in this game. I mean, now Jordan Love has started 2 games back to back, and both of those games started slow. When you talk about a fast start, it's not necessarily about Jordan Love needs to start fast in this football game, Billy. Yes, everybody needs to start fast, but I think Jordan Love is the catalyst for everybody starting fast in this football game. Now, last week he did hit Jaden Reed right in the hands. Bing, bang, drop.
Yep.
He did. And that was a bad drop by Jaden Reed. He's our best receiver right now. How does that play? How do drops continue to play out here for the Packers, or do they have a clean game finally? If they do, if Jordan comes out hot, and that's what we're all waiting for, right? That's what we're all waiting for with this team. We're waiting for this team to put one of those clean, complete games together. Last year it was until about November.
Yeah, late November.
Yeah, until we finally got one of those. What do you think the first complete game was for us last year? I would say, I know we beat.
The Bears game was pretty good, but that was the whole year. I mean, you consider that a complete, like.
We had 100 yards at half. We had less than 100 yards at halftime. I wouldn't
it was 7-6. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
I wouldn't necessarily say that was a complete game, although it felt like, defense made some plays, offense made some plays. I'm talking, what was the first game that you were like, man, that's a good game? Now, statistically, I don't know where it stands, but I would say Kansas City was the first complete game last year. Now, the Chargers came in, but if you remember, the Chargers were complicit.
Yeah,
Keenan Allen dropped a touchdown. Quentin Johnson dropped a big pass down the side. So we had a little bit of that horseshoe effect in that football game. I'm talking, when we say complete games, it's the Packers took it from their opponent. Not something was given. The Packers went in there and they took it on both sides, offensively and defensively. And last year, it took a while until we saw one of those.
Yeah, I'd say the Kansas City, Detroit back-to-back are the hard ones. However, Detroit made it so interesting in the second half. They just clawed themselves back in the game. And there were also the Jonathan Owens pick fumble 6 was one where, Detroit kind of thought it was an incomplete pass. They also did a fake punt and they missed it on like their own 25-yard line. And then the Packers didn't convert on a 4th and 1 at the Detroit 20. Like there was some clutter in there. Even though KC had a chance to win the game, I think that's a good answer for it as well. And I hate to say the Minnesota game, right? But I mean, like that was just utter domination. But that was the first time, John, that all game long there was no doubt they were winning that football game.
The ultimate complete game was the Cowboys in the playoffs game. That was the ultimate complete.
Yeah, that's the ultimate complete game.
Which was awesome that it happened.
But sometimes a complete game doesn't need to be a blowout.
I get it.
A complete game can be you're playing a good opponent, i.e. the Chiefs, in a big atmosphere, i.e. Sunday Night Football, and offensively you come to play. You make some big plays, you score more points against the Chiefs than anybody else did all season long. And then you get a defense that turns the ball over against Patrick Mahomes, stood up in a big way. Who was that by? Was it Keyshawn Nixon got the interception?
I think it was Keyshawn.
I think it was. Yeah. And then you hold firm at the end of the game, whether it's a pass interference call or not. It doesn't matter, but you have both sides raise their level of play for an opponent. And that's what I think a complete game is.
How about these for a couple of little stats going into the game? Kyler Murray has rushed for at least 45 yards in 4 of the 5 games this season. Packers will have to be able to, as Matt Schneidman told us, Jeff Hafley said they have to do, John, is the mush rush. Now, the only mush that I knew was this kid, Aaron Mushel, that I went to college with. He was our buddy Mush, and then we ended up calling Tush. So I appreciate, I appreciate a mush reference. But does the mush rush, is that the only way to contain Kyler Murray? Or do you think they try to design him on the outside a little bit more coming up this weekend for Arizona?
I'm not quite sure how you contain him. Listen, Kyler Murray's throwing for less than 200 yards a game. That's what he's throwing for. But it's his explosiveness as a runner that really, I mean, it can open up a game for them.
It's a game changer.
It can ruin the game for you and open up the game for them. I like this mush push that you talk about. I like trying to keep him in the pocket. I can't imagine Arizona is going to want to play with that, pocket, just drop back. They're going to get him out on the move. They're going to get him on boots. They're going to get him on nakeds. And they're going to get him running around so that he can use his feet as an asset so that when they do drop straight back, they do slow down your rush. I'm with you, Billy. It's like you're damned if you do, damned if you don't, because the mush rush doesn't really attack him because you don't want him getting out of the pocket, but you have to attack him at some point in time.
Yeah, you got to get him to the ground and you got to get after him. He is one of the most unique players in all of football. Maybe one of the most unique athletes we've seen play sports. He's the only guy that's been drafted top 10 in 2 different sports. Like that's a remarkable stat. How about this one though? Most yards per target for quarterback wide receiver duos this year, 17.8 per target. Jordan Love to Jayden Reed. And Jayden Reed has gone over 75 yards in all 3 games he's played with Jordan Love this year. Cardinals have allowed at least 75 yards to a player in each of the last 3 games. So Jayden Reed, go crazy this weekend. Let's go and see maybe number 11, maybe Tucker Kraft getting himself another big day. Going up tight end for tight end in the 85 battles. We'll have our score predictions on the other side. He's John Kuhn. I'm Billy Schmid, executive producer of the Packers Radio Network, Armin Sarian, with us as well. It's 9 to noon right here on The Game. I'd be down for one. It's 9 to noon on the game. Billy Schmid, Armin Sarian, and two-time Super Bowl champion John Kuhn with us, getting ready for Packers and Cardinals. We have our takeaways of the day in a couple of minutes from right now. But first, our predictions, our score predictions for Packers and Cardinals. Fellas, last night I said 33-23 on the football feast. And I'm going to stick to it. I'm going to stick to 33-23 Packers. And I'm actually really proud of myself for remembering what I picked on the football feast, because I am not very good at that, John. I am not very good at remembering just about anything, but I do remember 33-23 because everyone looked at me like, what? Yeah, we're going with it.
Yeah, I made a brick in the stick prediction. What was it, on Tuesday now? No clue. I mean, I know I picked the Packers to win. I have no idea what
Spread out your predictions.
No idea what score. So I'm going to say now, and I would bet this comes pretty close to the score I picked there. I'm going to guess 30-24.
Yeah.
I like that. Yep. Just a
1 point
narrow
cover.
Packer cover. Let's go.
1 point cover.
Hard to figure
Hand it
out,
over.
like, is it going to rain? Will the field be an issue? The game script part of it, I think there'd be a lot of running, but I'll say 27-20 Packers and the over-under pushes. That's what I think.
Well, and it started at like 51 during the earlier on in the week. It's all the way down now to like 47 in some places.
Well, right now it's a Potawatomi with 47 even. So
Oh, so that's an even better number, because some
Yeah.
places have it at 47.5. See, Potawatomi Sportsbook gives
Yeah.
you some great numbers.
get those great soft lines, man. Is that the right term? Soft? I don't know if the right term, but you get great value.
You know more of the
Armin
lingo
is
than I do.
Armin is doing everything he can to be that guy, to fit in.
What does that mean?
To fit in.
What does that mean, that guy?
The guy that fits in, like
Use the terminologies and stuff like that. Yeah.
I don't
get
know
it.
what that guy
Guys
is.
that all the guys want to be.
Trying to be casino guy, I guess. I should say.
Yeah.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Like shark, trying to be a shark.
Yeah, well, it's not a grind joint, let me tell you.
I'm not throwing
Pause.
shade. I'm not throwing shade, but
No,
I
I
can
get it.
tell you are dedicating time to learn the craft.
I'm trying to learn the craft.
You got the lingo.
Right.
You're talking about parlays.
He's reading
talking
books about it.
teasing, buying
That's it.
points,
That's it.
doing all this stuff. You make your way down to the Potawatomi Casino Hotel Sportsbook all the time, and you run in, you leave the car there, not even parked. You just run in, hit the
Flashes
kiosk,
on and let's go.
bing, 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 and you're back out.
Well, I did make you right. Actually, now I think about the show today, how many comments I made about the square bettors.
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's hip to be
Oh, you're
square.
dropping it now.
I guess you're right. So I like that, John. Well, no, I know you're not making fun. I just know what you meant at first by that guy, but now I know what you meant. Yeah.
And I didn't mean anything bad by it.
I
That,
get
guy,
it.
that guy's not a
Derogatory
bad
name.
guy.
I get
That
it.
guy's
now.
not a bad guy. I
Right,
mean,
right.
there's all kinds of guys, but that guy, casino guy,
Make some
parlay
cash,
better
too.
guy,
Oh, yeah.
shark
Mhm.
guy. I mean, he's a fine. Everybody should have one. I mean, I
Yeah.
have a guy.
You got to
when it
have your
comes
guy.
down to the Kentucky Derby. I have Derby guy who I only really talk to around horse race season.
I can't wait for the horse
And I
racing
feel really
time.
bad because he's probably like, I haven't
thought
heard
we were
from you
boys.
for about 11 months.
Because you know why? It's because every time you go to a
I got one thing in mind.
It's because every time you hear from me once a year. It's like you see those old texts. Oh, you text me around the same time last year. But every time you
Yeah,
go to
although
a book,
I'll say that. Did one of my old buddies, and all of a sudden I realized that the last time I texted him was a birthday. Happy birthday. Didn't get anything back. Guess what? No birthday message anymore, bub. Delete.
You know what's funny?
jeez,
That number's gone.
that's rough.
I got a birthday text from somebody this year, and the last text on that chain was a birthday text from him last year. And
Yeah.
I was like,
Wha-
damn, I'm a bad friend. I actually
You're that guy.
I actually self-admitted it. I said, damn, you wished me 2 birthdays before I wished you one. I'm really sorry for that.
At least you did that.
At least you
At
got
least
it
you did
back.
that.
Yes.
Because Billy would have just deleted you. you
Yeah, I
know?
did. I just deleted the number. I was like, all right, Kowalski. There you go. See ya. That's it. That's
Poor
all you need.
Kowalski. Poor up another score prediction.
Another score prediction.
Make
All
it
right,
that
final
big.
Don't
couple of
worry, Armin.
seconds.
It wasn't Kevin Boyle either.
Well, it's a good thing because then Wikipedia would be all over it.
Wikipedia would be so wrong and all over it. All right, our Quick Trip takeaway of the day brought to you by Quick Trip. Need something for dinner tonight? Don't cook. Stop by your local Quick Trip. Pick up a freshly prepared, absolutely delicious take-home meal. You might even find
Chicken Alfredo, potatoes, salad. He likes to stick to what he knows.
and beer at the lowest legal prices.
Mm.
That's a good thing for a good weekend in Wisconsin. And it's going to be a big old football weekend with the Badgers and the Packers and both early kicks. So you can still go do some of that to-do list right after the game while you're listening to the post-game show on Saturday and Sunday. How's that for a takeaway of the day?
I like that. And
Awesome.
text of the day is Anthony in Arkdale, and that's all I'm going to say.
Thanks,
If
Anthony.
You know, you know. Thank Thank you.
Thank you, Anthony. Big fan.
Appreciate that.
Big fan. Thank you, Anthony.
Amazing pictures of the northern lights.
Yes, no doubt about it. Very northern. Amazing,
some
amazing lights.
Let's get
Let's
some
winners.
All right.
Let's have ourselves a damn weekend, and we'll talk to you on Monday. For John Kuhn, I'm Billy Schmidt. That's Armin Sarian. We'll try to be better on Monday. It's been 9 to noon on the game.